like being here. I was told it was up to me when we started, so we're gonna start. We're calling the meeting to order and begin right now.
Mayor and Council, I'm sorry. Thank you for making the time today. We have a lot of territory to cover. Some of it we're gonna just pass out for you to take home and give you some time to process it.
Are we gonna wave the flag,
Are we gonna wave the flag?
the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let's say the pledge.
We can do that. Let's stand over that. Join me in pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have established a quorum here too. It's
Yeah.
like a regular council meeting.
Oh, darn.
Some people get so picky.
I started at the business. I didn't. Go ahead.
Well, okay, we will have a roll call. Ward 1.
Here.
Ward 2. Ward 3.
Here.
Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here, we do have a quorum.
Citizens to be heard. I don't think there are any.
There's nobody here except folks that work here, I think. At least I didn't see them if they snuck in.
Do any of y'all want to be heard as a citizen? Good job.
Oh, I would love
That sounded terrific. What did you say?
All right.
Okay, sorry, I jumped ahead there, I apologize. Anyway, we'll try to just keep you here long enough to eat Shelley's Frito pies, and then hopefully we'll be done by lunch or shortly after, okay? So the first thing on the agenda is rules of procedures, and Shelley very kindly put this together for us. This is adapted from our charter and our ordinances. So, Shelley, do you want to run through this, and we want to go through section by section, strike anything you're not interested in? I guess the first thing would be, are you interested in adopting a rules of procedure? When you adopt this, it goes for all boards and committees. So that's just the way we're going to behave, basically, and it will go to everybody. The first question is, are you interested? If you're interested, we'll go group by group, strike anything you don't like, and then if you're still interested, we'll put it back together for you. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, Shelley's the boss.
Oh, remember that. Okay.
For now.
So the rules of the procedures, the reasons, normally cities look at these every May and see if you want to make changes. Most of it has to do with the formatting of meetings. This also goes for boards and commissions. It's a one location to find what we need. So if we change an ordinance or something like that, then we'll have to come back and change things.
Yep.
So what it is, it's just basically telling you your authority and then the different types of meetings. So if we want to start, we can start with section 3.01, which is regular meeting. And as of Tuesday, we finally, on the second reading, adopted the meeting to start at 5 o'clock. And so we've made that change. The place, we put the new city hall. Now that can vary, and it's allowed to vary by law if you have to move it for emergency reasons or whatever. So that would still retain. The only thing we'll need to do is add the new address for City Hall. So there's no changes there. We'll go to the special meeting, and it tells you the difference between a regular meeting and a special meeting. So if you happen to move your regular meeting to a different date that week, or for whatever reason, it becomes from a regular meeting to a special meeting because your normal regular meetings are on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. So a special meeting, you can still approve items. You cannot approve items on a workshop. So that's the difference between a workshop and a special meeting. So then next, 3.03 is the workshop. This pretty much just explains what a workshop is. 3.04 is emergency meetings. Y'all have experienced that in the past with hurricanes and things like that, things of drastic necessity there's some rules about how soon you can post. I think there is a change in legislative on one of those, so I'm not sure where that one stands right now. 3.05 is closed session, executive session. 3.06 is the notice. There is one part here we're going to have to decide, because we're going to have, you have your normal bulletin board here where we post the agendas are, that's a state requirement. So you're going to have one at City Hall. So we could designate here for boards and commissions. You could tell us to post on both. So we'll need that kind of information.
So we anticipate some of the boards maybe still meeting here, Planning and Zoning Commission, the things that the function is housed in this building. Certainly would be welcome to meet at City Hall, but we have to designate where it's gonna be posted by paper. The legislation passed that we can post it on electronically, but it would be the same. It would still have to be on a screen electronically. So we're not equipped to do that at City Hall or here, so we're still gonna go paper. So you just have to decide. Do you want it at one official place? Do you want it at both places as official?
I would think both, if you're gonna have.
Doesn't it, if you do both, that gives you a little leeway. I mean,
No, it has to be at both if you designate both. You're not saying either or,
just for the posting,
just for the posting,
not for the actual meeting.
not for the meeting.
Gotcha. Both.
I think there are people that are going to be thinking it's gonna be here anyway, might as well post it both places, it's not very painful.
Right, it's not at all, and I'm gonna be honest with you, people aren't getting the information by coming and looking at the bulletin board. It's the law.
Okay, so attendance, and this talks about a quorum. We are asking that if you have to meet by Zoom, although you can meet by Zoom, although someone can attend a meeting, a council member can attend a meeting by Zoom, you still have to have a quorum present. So we're asking that if you want the Zoom link, that you let us know by 9 a.m. That way we'll know for sure that we'll have a quorum present. If you want to change that, just let me know. All of this again is in your ordinance except for the 9 a.m. Zoom request.
Okay, we discussed this one.
For sure.
So I do believe in the Zooms, but not, it's not trying to put down anyone or anything like that. I think that there should be a limitation on these Zooms are able to attend in place. I think you have to at least be in person at one point, when you're gonna be on council, that's just how I feel. I think it's really important to be present at the council meetings and making sure that you're getting the information.
Do we have an attendance policy in the ordinance?
I did not find one.
There is, there is one in there.
I was asking.
It's under the city council,
Chief.
It's the mayor, I think it's the mayor designate, like, it's so many unexcused.
Never mind.
honestly,
Want us to look for it?
it's 2 or more.
I did, but I had it.
Right.
But when that was passed, Zoom was not an option. I think when we adopted that, it was before you were, Zoom wasn't an option, and Zoom became an option during the whole COVID, Harvey type stuff, COVID.
So, keep in mind, Zoom does not count towards your quorum,
Correct.
so.
So I was wrong when I said there wasn't one, it has to do with, excused, unexcused, and so far everything has been excused. So if we want to make any of this.
Considered it excused, but it's the mayor's option.
So if it doesn't count for a quorum, then why should it count for attendance?
Yeah, and how are they able to vote if they're not quorums?
If there's not a quorum, an in-person quorum, you can't. They can't.
They can vote,
Yeah, they vote.
but they don't count towards the quorum, so it's, I see what you're saying, yes, ma'am.
So if it's, maybe we need to make it to, it's an unexcused absence. I mean, we're not in the age of Zoom really anymore. I think you have to be present if you're gonna be on council. That includes myself. If I'm gonna be on council, I need to show up and be present. I think there's emergencies and there's situations where, once in a while that situation can come up, but, I'm kind of against it. I think that people need to, if you're gonna make a commitment, have to be at the meetings as much as you possibly can, just make the meetings in person. So that's just, again, I'm just one person, I don't know how anyone else feels.
So do you want us to bring back an ordinance at the next meeting for y'all to discuss?
Maybe the actual ordinance with the excused absences, if we already have one in place, maybe we need to discuss that one.
And maybe some parameters again around what's excused, unexcused.
Yes.
We can work with the mayor to formulate that.
I can do that.
If anyone else agrees or disagrees.
The current, based on section 3.05, it says if any member of city council is absent from more than 3 consecutive meetings without explanation acceptable to the remaining council members.
There you go. Thanks.
Faster than me.
Yeah.
I was almost there.
So, we're including Zoom now, so that's the problem, that's where you get that, like, that Zoom link is now.
It doesn't count towards your, yeah,
If
you're,
no one's willing to-
you're considered
I
present.
don't think there's anything yet on remote attendance in our.
Okay. So, what are we, let's talk a little, I said we'd work with the mayor, but we need to talk a little bit about excused, unexcused. Is it gonna be, I mean, cause work can be an excuse.
I don't know that we necessarily, I don't know, if you put it in the ordinance and make it black and white, what does that do for, I guess let's say 3 or 4, 3 consecutive, 3 consecutives.
But I think that's, but without council approval, so you can have 3 executive, like you have 3 unexcused absence, okay, and then it comes to council, do you guys feel like these
It
absences
has to
are
be
for-
acceptable to council.
Yeah, like.
Like
we
three
can
no,
go-
all no shows.
Yeah, we can be like, no, or they can be like, hey, we have emergency that's been going on and this is going on. We
I
can be like,
think
okay,
the
let's.
actual attendance issue is already addressed in our ordinance. I think it's the remote issue that is an issue. Is the actual in-person attendance within council.
Does council have the authority to remove council members?
Yeah.
We do.
But they have to be on council for a certain amount of time, I believe. I think it's about half of their term, I want to say.
Okay.
I'm assuming that would take a unanimous vote or
Probably
a
super,
majority.
yeah.
Any conversations needed for prior,
And that's
Say
not,
again?
what was that?
conversations should occur prior to that.
Oh, yeah.
My issue is this being in person versus Zoom.
I think the question is something we need to look at. I have talked with Matt about the fact that he has gone so much, he will come by and sit in office and we'll visit about it. And I understand that he has got some things that require him to be somewhere else. And he has talked about whether or not that is sufficient. And in his case, I have told him several times that if it's something he cannot avoid and can get online and participate, and I'm aware of the fact that he can't help us form a quorum if we don't have it actually present. But I don't know that in the past 35 years, we've had an instance where somebody had to be gone that much. I think he keeps up with the things that are going on right well and comes around and asks questions if he's got anything. But I have been curious about the thoughts of the rest of the council. I have not tried to track down one at a time and talk to folks, but it's a worthwhile concern.
So just to kind of go off of that, so me being on council, this is probably the second time since I've been on council, where we've had issues where people are not able to meet, they're kind of coming to the meetings and doing that. And it wasn't just a Matt situation, that kind of concerns me a little bit. I think that for future people that are considering going on to council, that they should know what the requirements are, what time commitment's gonna be, what you know, if you're gonna make that commitment, make sure you know wholeheartedly this is what you need to be doing. But this is not just to me, it's not just a map. The Zoom is not just to pick on Matt, it's more so that I think, because it's the second council person since I've been on council, that work is consuming it's a time commitment that we are not always aware of. Yes, there's gonna be struggles and things, but I think we need to make it outline in there that this is what's required if you're gonna actually step up and run for council. That's kind of where
I think chances are if he had the time committed to the meetings and so forth he has to attend at the time he was elected, he might not have even run.
exactly.
But
That's more.
this is like a promotion that he got, that there's nothing he can do about. When his boss said, I'm getting ready to retire, you've got whatever it is, 4 states, part of Mexico to take care of. And it's an overwhelming ban, I takes care of it anyway.
Yeah.
But in general, I have talked with him several times and said, there's nothing you can do about it. Get online and be here, and if there comes a problem, I'll let you know.
Full disclosure, I requested for the second meeting in June already. Hey, I pre-planned for once in my life.
Good enough.
I'll be in Michigan, sorry.
So if you're on Zoom and Matt's on Zoom, you
That's what,
have to make it.
I think so.
So
second one in June. First one in June, I requested all the way back in the year that.
So
I'll be here.
y'all wanna discuss more? You're saying that the Zoom attendance is, you don't think it's effective, or you think it's, what is your thought?
I think we need to outline the actual ordinance of the time commitment, not just the Zoom link, but just if you're gonna have to be in person.
There
At
should,
a certain amount of meetings, I don't know, like, how we're gonna word it or not, but I think.
currently it's just 3 consecutive. Would you want to change to 3 in-person consecutive? Like if you miss
Yeah.
more than 3 in-person consecutive meetings?
I think something like that would be more, so people understand the commitment that they're trying to make here.
Y'all's
Would you just
direction.
consider that for regular scheduled meetings, or would you do workshops and stuff?
Not just regular scheduled meetings, I mean, workshops and special meetings, those things that come up.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, I just think that we need to outline now the 3 in-person meetings. Again, that's for council approval, so if there's something that comes up and, you know, we're like, hey, we can be, okay, that's fine, I understand.
I think that it's really important to try to be here for the workshops. I completely support priority of livelihood, and I get that. But a lot of the conversations we have are really going to form our opinions and our judgment when it comes to that voting period on big things like the budget, tax rate, and so I think, you know, I know we may not put that in the ordinance, but I think it's definitely some strong conversations that need to be pushed prior to these workshops.
Yeah, there'll be workshops where the ability to discuss things that before it actually comes to the vote.
Typically, our workshops are scheduled out pretty well in advance, or we try to make them coincide with an existing, council meeting, so they're typically not a surprise.
Do you wanna include workshops in that then?
When it comes to these kind of work, I think it's important. I really do. I don't know how we would include it, but I think that it is extremely important that we all come together for, especially during tax season and budget and everything. So we're all on the same page, we're receiving information at one time.
Well, in there, it's council's discretion, right? So the 3 absences or whatever, however we word that, it's council's discretion. So I don't want to make it so tight that we handcuff ourselves. I mean, I guess it's very important to be, but I don't want to write it so that we're possibly in violation all the time.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said it could just come down to a good firm conversation of, you know, the importance of attendance, but
I think it needs to be, everybody's gonna be different, new consequences. But I agree, not making it firm, it's council discretion.
how many workshops do we have through the year generally? 4 or
5, 7, I
So
mean,
would you
5 to 10.
try to say greater than 50% of scheduled workshops or something?
We could do some research and see what other cities have in there, and then bring it back to y'all to look at it.
keep in mind, this is also going to apply to your other boards and commissions, so,
I think that's
And we have some non-participatory members that this will help staff get members that are invested and gonna show up. So it's think beyond yourself, that, you know, there's gonna be other people that this applies to. And it will really be helpful to some of the people that run boards that members don't show up, but they wanna be on the board.
Sure. And there's some other rules too. You're on Zoom or whatever virtual that you're on, you have to be on the screen. We have to have it on the screen. So there's other rules we can throw in there too.
Which I think is,
That's the law.
I think
It has
that's
to be on the screen.
Yeah.
on there.
But I'm saying we could also add that, so it's very clear.
I think the big concern is whether someone is missing enough that the fact that they are not present for the meetings, it has an effect on how we're able to conduct business for the city. And I think in most of the cases that we have had lately, it has not been like that, because most of the cases, we have either been here or on Zoom, and we had occasions when the Zoom thing didn't work. We couldn't get everybody at least talking about the subject at hand. But I think, coming up with a hard number and saying you can't miss more than this many is difficult, because people have a lot of responsibilities. I mean, it could be family things, it could be all sorts of things that would cause you to miss a number of meetings. But my concern is that if it starts having an effect on our ability to take care of business properly on behalf of the city, we would have to do something about it then.
So we can avoid that by having set rules, so it doesn't get to that point. I'm more concerned.
Valid point.
Okay,
Direction received.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to see how other cities are handling, or just to maybe see what they're doing. And I don't know how some of the cities y'all came from in the past are handling the Zoom things, or whatever, telecommunication, or
Hey,
was that?
Odessa was 2 and you're out. I don't think they'll want that. No, I'm teasing.
I was gonna say St. Marcus was true.
Yeah. So let us bring some options. We'll have it at the next budget workshop.
Yeah.
And we'll have some options. And then y'all can ditch it if you want. I think our ordinances, I'm not finding removal of a council member, but I only find removal of,
It should have been right under that attendance one, or the,
a member of the planning and zoning commission may be removed at any time by majority vote of the city council.
there's a
There is a removal. They have to be on council for a certain amount of time. I don't know exactly what that.
It talks about
just read it right.
vacancies in the city council, other than mayor shall be filled, if the remaining term is 12 months or less.
Say again?
It talks about vacancies, but I don't believe it talks about removal.
Okay. We will do the research and bring you something back, and we appreciate the direction.
So 3.09 is chair of the council, and you know that the mayor's in charge, and if he's absent, then it's the mayor pro tem. If something happens, they're both absent. This is the process. This is what you'll have to decide who will run the meeting. Go from there. Section 4 is the creation of the agenda. So I wanted to touch on this a little bit because there is, no matter how much cities fought it, there is a change coming down. It is no longer 72 hours to post an agenda. It will, and once the governor signs it, and most likely will go in effect in September, it is 3 business days. It does not count weekends. It's 3 business days, I think, before the meeting. So it doesn't count weekends, it doesn't count holidays. So most likely you will have to get your packet on Wednesday night, because the 3 business days, Thursday, Friday, Monday. So That is coming down, which that means we're gonna have to shift everything back on, employees in to make that work. It can be done, it's just gonna be a change. It's gonna also go for boards and commissions. So, we're working on some of those changes. So, if this one tells about the process of putting agenda item on, of course, your city manager and the mayor, and I work on the agenda, Vanessa and the mayor will, have, directions they can both put on items, or you can have at least 2 city council members add an item. So, agenda items, we are asking that every agenda item now have the memo.
So I want to back up, I'm sorry. So if
Okay.
you guys want to put something on the agenda, the appropriate thing to do is go through the mayor. And the mayor directs you to put it on the agenda. If the mayor refuses, go find a buddy. And then the 2 of you come to me and say, we want this on the agenda. He's so disagreeable.
So the agenda items, we're asking that everybody put agenda memo. There might be a few that will not have an agenda memo in your packet, but the way that the new agenda management, it has the bullets on the side, or and so you can link to and jump without having the memo. But the memo is the way we explain what's happening. It also gives the background for the public as well. So that is part of it. And then, of course, 4.03 talks about the availability. Again, we're gonna post the agenda, and I will change that wording on both bulletin boards. And then, of course, the requirement is it has to be on the website. So, and of course, again, that has to be 3 business days before.
Is there a template for the memo on the agenda software?
Yes.
Yeah, it prompts and you answer.
Okay.
They based it on the one that she based the setup on the one that we already had. So it has all the same fields and we just go fill it in. It's very simple to do. So, I know Carrie just walked in, we're talking about the agenda, the memo, filling out the agenda memo. It's exactly like it used to be, you just have to fill it in.
So if we were to request an item on there, we'd go ask the mayor first, and then fill out our memo template with all, basically the information that y'all typically put in there. And
Yeah,
and
or
so-
tell me.
Okay.
Can they put in agenda items?
I can if you want an account.
I didn't, that's not what I asked for. Hang on now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you would just come to me and we would fill out your.
Okay.
Do it too.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
no big deal,
I
just
would
has to be done.
Yeah.
it's very easy, and I keep saying that, but it really is. But again, this is also for your boards and commissions as well.
It will be easy for the rest of us eventually. If we keep doing it.
I guess it's the main thing for us is grab the mayor first if he doesn't want it. Grab another council member that comes,
That's right.
that comes to one of y'all for.
And you guys are not, you're not contentious, and I think Shelley and I are coming from a position that we have been with contentious councils, and, there may come a day. And so it's easier to put this in place with an agreeable group than to wait till they're fighting instead of, and try to put it in place.
Okay.
So, standard conduct, this again is already in our charter. It just tells everybody pretty much how to play right. So we can go to section 6 unless y'all want to. Let me, there is one thing in here, the seating arrangement. It just talks about the mayor would assign the places for the council. He will sit in the middle, or she, that basic information. Let's see. Section 6 is the chair and the duties. Again, these are all the items that are already in our ordinance. or ordinances, and it just talks about who the presiding judge is, who calls the meeting to order, and roll call. Now, when I got here, I kind of changed it to where it was call to order / roll call. So if you want to separate those out, just let me know, but I would usually run them together because I think once you call it to order, then you immediately call the roll and you establish your quorum. So to me, it's almost one.
Can we go back to seating arrangement?
Sure.
Do y'all wanna just put that you said in ward order with the mayor in the middle?
Right. I don't see a reason not to.
Unless they.
Unless what? You wanna sit by Brad? Is that what I heard?
Unless one's, you can move down.
I like to sit on myself in the corner.
I think it should be in ward order so that someone attending knows
Okay.
who their representative is if they haven't seen you before or whatever. That's my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it.
Does it bother me?
Yeah, the way we sit down does not hurt my feelings at all. If you don't want to sit by me.
Okay, I'll get that corrected.
Sorry to back you up there.
That's okay. And 6.04 is the quorum. Again, you have to have, because you're 5, it's half plus 1. So that's where they come up with the 3.
So on attendance,
Yes.
quorum, in the absence of a quorum, the presiding officer shall, at the request of any 3 members present, compel the attendance of absent members. They can't. I mean, what are they gonna do? Call them on the phone and be like, hey, I know you're in Chicago, but you gotta come here.
So we're gonna have to work on that one because we have to word it also for the board. But we need to look at that ordinance too.
Yeah, cause I don't,
Yeah, how are you gonna compel someone?
Yeah, how do you compel attendance if they're,
someone that's not there.
yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
It also doesn't make sense when it says in the absence of a quorum, the proceeding officer at the request of any 3 members that are present, which is a quorum.
Which is a quorum.
So,
You're gonna have to
we'll
wordsmith
look
that
that
one.
up. Yeah. Sorry. But we have to also write it to where it makes sense for a board too, because some of the boards are 7. So,
Is this the appropriate spot with that Zoom does not count towards a quorum? I mean, I know that's the law, but
well, we could do a whole section on Zoom, like when we adopt that ordinance. But, so in the order of business, this talks about the order. It's easy to have an order, the order, so that we know how to formulate the agenda packet for you. However, it is up to the mayor's discretion to move things around. And again, it is up to the chair of the commission to move things around if they see fit to. So I put, I think I put a note in here that the normal heading is a requirement of the Texas Open Meetings Act. And then I listed, the roll call, establishing a quorum, and then the rest of the information is pretty much up to the mayor's order, unless y'all set an order. So in other words, start the meeting at 5, and you automatically take up a topic that y'all feel have to go into executive session. You could go ahead and just take the whole executive session at the time. That's up to the mayor.
I think we're fine with the order.
Okay. Rules of debate, of course, these are the normal parliamentary procedure, the basic ones. I don't see that we drastically violate any. Y'all are very straightforward and very aware of what you're doing, so I don't think there's an issue there. The citizen comments, Yeah, in here it says no later than 5 minutes. We can take that out, because as soon as I get those 5 minutes before the meeting, but because as soon as I get those, I go ahead and turn them in. But, and we've only had 1 or 2 instances where during the meeting, someone just walked up with a card. And, you know, I put a note on it, given it to the mayor, and the mayor went ahead and heard them. But, you know, nothing's being violated there.
It's the chair's discretion, correct? So,
Even if we leave the 5 minutes here, he can still say, oh, I'll take that one.
Right. And I'm sorry, I think our copier cut off the last, but it does say that you can limit to 3 minutes. And again, that's the mayor's discretion. However, our agenda does say 3 minutes. So if you say I'm cutting everybody down to 2, unless you have something new, you know, you might have enough for.
Well, and we also have that ordinance that says we only allot 30 minutes for citizen comments, so.
How does that work if you give each citizen 3 minutes and say it's a very controversial situation?
Right, so if
You only
there's,
have 30 minutes. You
if
just
there's
cut people off.
30 people here, he allots 1 minute. If he wants to, if you want to enact that ordinance that we're only gonna put 30 minutes for discussion, then he has to allot the time appropriately for the number of people that wanna speak. That's why it's important to get the card in, so we know how many people are gonna speak.
Can the mayor extend the 30 minutes if needed?
You get, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes,
But that isn't by ordinance. but
that is in our ordinance.
Most of the time, if it's a matter that we have got 30 or 40 people wanting to talk, it has been my experience that it's better to let those people talk than it is to shut them off after 30 minutes and there's people still sitting there that are mad or glad or thrilled or whatever, and we don't let them talk.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that we would always. I have been in a couple of those things when that's another thank y'all, have a nice day. But in general, most of the time, when there's that many people, I think we're better off listening to what they got to say.
No, certainly, even if it goes over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that often.
That's never been an issue, it's just, I would say it's an option.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure we have to take longer than they are allowed to, so.
I know in the past we've had an issue with citizens TIRZ when they wanted to distribute blood documents to us. Is there anything clearly outlined on that, or can we open that up for discussion?
So, go ahead. Teresa wouldn't allow it. I mean, she was like, you give them to me.
Yeah,
give
and I
them to
don't
them.
mind it, that's what I wanted to.
So on our agenda where it says sign up, let's see. If they're providing documents, we ask them provide 8 copies. And they're to give them to me, and then I will pass them out.
We don't want them walking up to the dais. We don't want people walking up to the
Yes,
dais and
so-
trying to start a conversation.
And they were to give them to me, and I will distribute. If they don't give them to us in time, or they give us one, then you will get that document the next day.
Okay. So I think that should be included in here, in citizen participation.
Because I do think when we move over to the city hall, I think it's gonna be a whole different layout. It might be a little bit more difficult for citizens to come up to where we're gonna be sitting. Not, I mean, we're planning to be that later, but it's just a different layout here. It's so easy to just kind of come and talk to them. I mean, generally, I think in here it says you're not supposed to really have private conversations when city council is meeting sessions, so.
So I think that'll work if we put that in here. I think that's a good idea.
There's no provision that they can't distribute information.
Well,
It's
you
just-
guys need to decide that.
No, but giving it to the city secretary.
I
and
think
her-
whatever's submitted to city secretary for distribution to council, whether it be done correctly prior at the time of the meeting where they provide 8 copies and then we get it distributed, or therefore after the fact, if they didn't provide it, it should be provided to us regardless for review.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the information that they're discussing or talking about, that it's good to be able to look at it and thumb through either pictures or information that
I agree.
Yeah,
So let's write that up.
Okay, I've got that added. And then we have the information B is public hearing. This is the normal, there's not a form, they do not have to sign up for public hearing. That's misconstrued, a lot of people think you have to sign up, but you do not have to sign up for a public hearing. Once the mayor opens and asks if anyone, or the chair opens, asks anyone to speak, then that's, their opportunity. It is nice if they sign up because I can get the correct spelling of their name and that information, and then you will have a contact. But if you want to get back with them, but if you want to get their information, just ask them to give it to you. But anyway, 6.8. I don't see that that's a problem here. That I've been with some other cities. Someone doesn't want to publicly vote because it's a hot topic. They just sit there. Or, so anyway.
Right?
what did you do?
It's a whole new market.
Yeah.
So just because you're silenced doesn't mean so. Anyway.
I've also worked in a city where they had to draw for who voted first because certain members didn't want to vote until after other members voted.
Really?
So, right. So like Stephanie always votes first here because she's Ward 1, but yeah.
And I worked where I had to rotate.
Yeah.
My first person is every time.
So if y'all want to do anything towards that.
I think it's because he sets precedence of the vote, but I think we're all very opinionated.
Yeah, anytime we have to have a roll call vote, we call in order.
Yeah.
Right, but if
And there are things that we do have to do that on. And I think it has worked right well just going down the line from that end.
I hope Stephanie never wants to hear Andrea's vote before she votes.
Probably I should put one
Yeah,
next
I've
to
had
it.
some council members say pass because they wanted to hear
Yeah.
that other person.
Yeah,
And we're like, that's
some silly stuff happens,
Yeah.
for real.
So that's why we're saying y'all are very, very easy.
I think we're pretty, set in our own votes, so I think we're good with the way we did it.
We'll keep it going as it is. Leave it, and if the mayor ever wants to change it.
And what's nice about it is most often you're gonna have a second reading. Even though your vote may be one direction the first reading, you give yourself more time, participation, citizen input, whatever, it could change come second reading.
On all ordinances, unless, remember, we do have provision. Nope, never mind. I think on zoning cases, they can dispense with the second reading. It's always better to have two.
There is something in here.
Alright, it's fine, I'll leave my mouth out of that one.
So, number 7, we talk about voting. And it's just the normal parliamentary procedures on the process on how to vote. Your parliamentary procedure when he's here is Art. If not, then I'm back to Art, from what I understand. I've been told different, so, but, so.
So that's right, Art's the parliamentarian unless he's not here.
Yeah.
Or your city attorney.
That's how we always worked.
Okay.
So, so the notice of a public hearing, this just talks about how you have to give that notice and the statute about being in the paper. And like Vanessa said earlier, there is a proposed for a bill that we can do that digital format with the paper instead of the printing. So far that's going, it's passing.
That will save us a lot of money.
As far as the public hearing, I know this will cover all boards. I know it was brought up just for our last, they wanted to do the conditional, cut for the HOs, that the notice of public hearing, what they actually specified for the request wasn't detailed enough to really give the recipients of that notice a clear idea of what they were requesting. Is there any way we can put like a limitation of the request and then a small, just, you know what I mean? Like,
So like on that cup, the notice is specified by law, right? But And then any detail would need to be, so,
We can do that.
right,
Yeah, I think that also will kind of clear up for those that want just a little minimal information. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, here's the request and here's the detail that supports it. And I had people just come to me regarding that recent one. And once I kind of explained, they're like, oh, we're good, you know, so it may actually take away a little bit of.
Yeah, we got a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd done.
Okay.
especially if we can move to digital, it's gonna be a lot easier because it's so expensive to put things in the paper, so we try to keep it just
Minimal.
to the basic.
Yeah.
So,
Well, these were just the mail out forms for the residents within 200 feet
got it.
that I had received. I mean, even myself, I received one, so I saw it firsthand, you know, the limitation of the information on it.
I think we can do better.
You can add.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does a 72 hour, 3 business days, law, shouldn't be law, does that affect public notices at all? The 2-week posting,
No, all of that will change, stay the same.
that's
It's
it,
just for the
Regular.
board agendas.
okay.
Publication, all of that, all of those timelines don't change. And that's one of our concerns, and that's what we wrote in to our group about, is making the 72 hours, which is gonna go through, is going to put us in a bind in some situations with the shot clock.
Yep.
And the publication notice of the newspaper, the publication schedule of the newspaper. So, it doesn't change. We're gonna have to be very attentive of the calendar.
We can't miss a date, because then your shot clock, you would, by the 2-week posting, you could reach the shot clock.
And it has to be into the paper a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance? 15 days.
Do you-
Well, some stuff 15, some stuff 10.
Right,
Depending on
so
what.
it's a moving scale. But, you know, we're gonna do what we gotta do.
So going digital will help with some of it.
Right, because then you take out the
The 10 days,
publication
yeah,
and
publication, the 10 days of.
throw it up on the website and you're good to go. So we hope that one passes. That will take some pressure off.
So that bill is written by Senator Kopars.
Yes,
And so if you wanna, email her and tell her to support it or, help push it or whatever you can do. Section 9 has to do with ordinances. And if you will read number 3, that one is the dispense of the 2 readings on the zoning ordinance. So that's where, Vanessa, you were picking up.
yep, sorry.
So as you know, every ordinance has to be ordained, so y'all have that wording in there to make sure that that is followed. Your ordinance regarding ordinances and passages is really pretty straightforward. I did change the signature block on the ordinances when I got here. You had, the mayor had to sign it when it passed the first time and then sign it when it passed the second time, and you can do those together. So I did change that part, because I would, sometimes run into another pages. So, the other thing that I did do is when it requires to be in the paper, I do get that on the bottom of the ordinance. So if it says it's effective 10 days later, we know what day it was in the paper, so the police department knows 10 days later, this is good to go, and they can start writing tickets. So those are the only changes that I made. Section 9.2 is emergency ordinances. These are things that have to be done, hurricane disaster. I think this is, Robbie, if I'm not the budget ones are separate, budget ones only take 1 reading. So So, these are more for disasters, borrowing money, that kind of stuff.
I think item number 1, except as provided by Article 7 of, I think it should be the charter, the city charter.
Which one?
Number 1, second page.
Okay, so number 10 talks about rule suspensions. And that is it. So is there anything else we want to add? This is where you could add a section on digital meetings, or, we can wait to see what y'all say on the ordinance and then come back with the corrections to this. So this is just pretty much a one-stop shop for people to find out what the rules are. Your guests coming to meetings, the boards and commissions will, know this also.
So I think there's enough interest for us to continue with this, that you're interested in adopting this. So we'll bring the things back that we've said, and you'll see it at the next budget, work session. If you have questions or concerns between now and then, let us know so that we can be sure and put a reminder for discussion at the next one.
I think 2 questions. 3.04, emergency meetings. Maybe called by the mayor or 4 members of the council.
What does the charter say?
I thought this came from the charter. I think it did. I think 99%, I'm not even gonna say. Anyway, but when you have 4 members, you just did a walking quorum.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably change that to 2.
And then, I think, Mayor, during Harvey, when disaster is declared, does that change that emergency meeting procedure? That, if I recall.
It did, CJ had meetings about every 2 or 3 days, it seemed like. But we had to, there were things we had to take care of, we couldn't do without council action, he had to do it right then.
But there wasn't 4 members there, I don't believe, 4 or 5 members.
Most of them were gone for a week.
Could have been 2 of them in there, Mayor Waxman and Mayor Rios, I believe. But so anyway, my question about that was, in a disaster declaration or somewhere similar to that event, and maybe the mayor is predisposed or out of town or whatever, there's 4 members, is it really,
Right.
should it take 4 members to make that happen, especially if we don't have?
So that's what your ordinance says.
That's what our ordinance?
Yeah, it is in section 2, -29 types of meetings. It's emergency meetings. There is state rules on what makes up an emergency and then how you have to call it. But if you go to 4 people, you now have a quorum, so that's a violation, so we probably want to change that.
So if we got to bring that one back?
Well, if you roll it back to 3, you still have a
We
quorum.
still have a 4.
Yeah.
But I seem to recall there being 2 of them. Maybe are you on council?
There's a provision in the charter that whoever's available is a quorum.
What is the state law regarding that? Because there's this one in section 3.08 where it says nothing herein shall prevent a meeting being called in emergency circumstances with notice provided in compliance with state law.
So the state law has to do with how many hours posting. You can call, I think, and then who all I have to notify really quickly when it's
Because
called.
this says emergency circumstances, so that's for
So, why don't we look,
Yeah, why don't you let us look into that a little more, because because 4 is not gonna,
because that one's gonna require an ordinance change too.
My recollection is that what Brad was saying is true, you had two of them, Pat Rio for CIPs, they were sitting, they sat and talked, and the mayor said, here's what we're gonna do, and we did.
and the only thing that the charter addresses is emergency ordinances and emergency power of the mayor. So,
So chapter 2 under administration is where, the meeting types is located.
yeah, so that's one, yeah, we need to research that and clean it up.
So, and, going through this, I did find some things that we probably need to clean up anyway.
But if they're in the charter, then that, we can't clean it up, it's gotta go to the vote.
If it's in an ordinance, we'll redo it, but if it's in the charter, that's the law.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
the-
Second one, 7.01, the reconsideration of a previous vote. Can you walk me through that one? Is it in the same meeting, or can it be brought back up at a separate
It can be
meeting?
brought back up at a separate meeting.
Yeah, it can actually be done at both.
Yep.
So you voted on it at the front, then you voted on something else, and you were like, wait a minute, this changes that, so you can, whoever made the motion, I have to go back and read the rules exactly, but whoever made the motion in the second can request it to come back.
But it needs to be from the majority of the vote, if it
We
was
have
a
to
3-2
to
vote,
bring it back.
if it's a 3-2, if we're parliamentary procedure, if it's a 3-2 vote, let's say,
Yeah.
a member from the 3 has to make that motion to reconsider. It cannot be reconsidered from the
From the-
minority.
From the what?
From the minority vote. If it's a 3-2 vote, be reconsidered, I don't think the 2 can motion to reconsider.
Prevailing vote. Well, I'll have to look at that one. I can answer that one in a minute and go back and look at my cheat sheets, but.
I think that was.
Yeah, I think the affirmative, no,
It's
the
in
majority.
my Robert's book, y'all got it.
Yeah, the majority vote,
I can read.
I think is the only one that can do for reconsideration and or put it on a future agenda for reconsideration.
Right, so you can do it both ways. I will tell you, when Mary Lynn goes around and teaches all those classes, or when we teach them at municipal clerk, conferences, it's always recommended that you maybe adopt, I know you adopted, Robert's rules as a whole, but you can narrow them down too, and say, we're gonna use only this one. They had to do that in the city I came from because you had some professors that sat there and that threw all of these other ones out, and the other ones didn't know what was happening. Luckily, we had our cheat sheets with us all the time and we could follow, but, so we had to go in and simplify it. So that is one you could say, here's how we handle this.
I don't know if we've ever.
Let's don't do that right now. I mean, if we wanna. Sorry.
Yeah.
If y'all would like to do that, I would love to do it for you. That is a big undertaking, and, I think generally saying we follow Robert's Rules of Order is good enough. If someone wants to pull out the book and call us on it, okay.
Well, the book is so thick, you start reading that thing, after about 20 minutes, you get up and walk away
It's
from it.
good bedtime.
Come back and look at it for a while, then you get up and walk
And
away.
then what version of Robert's are you
Throw it at the
adopting?
wall.
Because it is updated.
So I think we take 7.01 and firm it up according to the information that you're asking for, Brad, and that would be fine.
There is a ladder that, where it tells you which steps, and I can make copies for all of them, and it also tells you what each of them are, the basic ones, which I'm sure she gave y'all, because she's the one who writes it in the book.
Absolutely.
You don't have a brain. Hey, y'all have a drawer at City Hall. You
So I
put
can leave it in there.
Yes, yes. Okay,
That's all the questions, thank you.
good questions. Anything else on this? All right, we have our direction. Next up, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mayor. We're ready for
Go
item.
right ahead. Number 2, discussion of city council renewed initiatives.
All right, this is the Robbie Sorrells show. This is where, staff put in the things that they are seeking to do that is different from last year that will require some money. Right?
In general.
In general.
In general.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does Bob have your presentation?
Yes. Spreadsheet. Yes, sir. You want me to use it? Spreadsheet for a time. Okay. Thank you.
Don't need a break. We've been here
That's true.
an hour.
Shelley said no.
Oh, I said an hour.
We can do that, just take 10 minutes.
Silence is an affirmative vote. Take 10 minutes. Sorry, Robbie.
You should be.
All right, thank you. Okay, so preliminary budget workshop, again, preliminary, this is just for discussion purposes. There are going to be some numbers in this, but again, just for discussion. Talk about Rockport population, looking at about 11,200 people, dropped by about 1,000 post Harvey, back up to about 11,200. Population is projected to increase by about 2.41% moving forward. So we take that, the expected population increase, and then we've seen this graph before, the consumer price index, and we've talked about the spike in June of 2022 where it went to 9.1%. It's dropped back down to 2.3% now, but again, we've lost about 7 years of purchasing power. If you smooth it out at 3.5%, we've lost about 7 years of purchasing power because of the inflation. So it kind of begs the question is, how do you fund existing services whenever you have a cap at 3.5%? Well, and then, so you really, and so what are your pricing pressures? Well, what you really need to do is you need to take your CPI and you need to stack it on with what your growth, because you've got more people moving in that are wanting services and that you're wanting to provide services for, but then you also have inflation. So if you stack the two, basically if you compare, you can see that now it's even harder now to get it to be providing city services. So when you provide the two, it's getting really unattainable. So basically what Senate Bill 2 did 2019 is it basically added election costs and market risk to already volatile city operations. And what the Senate Bill 2 has done is any additions that we're needing to have, any additional services, additional officers, additional people, really it's going to have to come down is that we're going to need people getting out and coming to vote to go for over voter approved rate. We're going to need to be having these elections and having people vote for additional services. And so what additional services? We're talking about initiatives. Vanessa was talking about initiatives and taken from, these are some that were turned in this year. CID is wanting an investigative analyst. Patrol is wanting 5 officers. They're looking at getting a grant. They've applied for a grant that would basically have that $1 million, but that's what we're looking for, 5 patrol officers. And those are not nice haves. It's because what we've seen, we have growth, and we've not been adding. We've not really been able to add any new programs. Wastewater. I mean, you got to take care of that. Building maintenance. We're going to be moving into a new building. An IT network. I mean, we definitely want to have secure network. So as we were saying, the city of Rockport has trouble adding staff without triggering elections. Moving forward, we're going to need to be getting voter support to grow and continuing adding service. I mean, that's really where we are. This presentation is going to be, we do have the preliminary appraisal rules for 2025, and we're going to incorporate that where possible. The other tax information is going to be from 2024 rates. We've dropped in what we have, and these are going to be estimates. The numbers are going to change. I know people like to take a picture and say, well, this is what you said, and so I'm telling you that they're going to change. These are going to be estimates.
You know they change until the very last minute.
Yep, absolutely. And at the end of the day, the tax assessor is the one who calculates the final tax rates. I'm not blaming it on her. I'm just saying that they do. That's just the way it worked. And the estimated collections rate as well. So this is what we're looking at here is what is the estimated, this includes the voter approved rate. What we're doing a voter approved rate, so that includes the 3.5%. This is where we are now, and this is what we'd be looking at the voter approved rate, with nothing in for any debt service. That's keeping debt service flat. So we'd be looking at like 10.3% on here, and that would be an increase on an average taxable home of about $138.83. That would be the marginal increase. And again, that's using the voter approved rate, but which Bob, when he was here, our financial advisor, had said that we needed to at least go to in order to be able to keep up with inflation. Like we said, included the 3.5% on the M&O. Nothing in for debt service. Taxable values increased by 8.7%. Bob had mentioned that whenever he was here. The increase in the average taxable home value went up 8.1%, or $27,767 from last year. The average taxable home value went from $342,000 last year to $369,000 this year. The average per penny, for every penny, the average taxable value, it's $37 per penny. And we talked about the preliminary tax value at $138, and that increase gives us an estimated $1 million for M&O and $122,000 on the INS side, or the debt service side.
That's our wiggle room?
That's
The increase.
the increase, yes.
Okay.
Marginal increase. This example adds a penny to the INS side, and it leaves the M&O side alone because you're limited at 3.5% cap. Adds a penny to the INS side, and this is to give some flexibility for tax notes, kind of similar to what we did last year, where we issued $3 million in tax notes to help with the B&E and some other capital items, the pool and some other things that we did, and we'll get into that. But adding a penny on that takes us to about 15.3%, and we go from 138 to 219.41 would be the marginal increase. So taking that, that penny for debt service, that adds on about another $80.58 per year and takes us up to that $219 that we're talking about. So marginally speaking, your the marginal tax value increased $27,000, as we talked about. Marginal increase of $219.41 per year on the tax rate. So 219 divided by 27,000 would be a 0.8% increase for tax, if that's just from a valuation standpoint. If you want to put it, there's different ways of looking at it, but that's one way to do it. So overall, that would give you $1 million on the M&O and about $630,000 on your INS. And that would give us some debt service room give us some money to handle the debt service. I'm showing the tax notes for 2024. They were running about $500,000 for a year for the 2024 tax notes. And so we're estimating about 3 million, maybe 3.5 million, a little more, primarily because we have the reimbursement resolution from the volunteer fire department that we still need to reimburse the general fund for. Okay, so the 1 cent increase, this is just, and this is per the CIP, I pulled some items off the CIP. We had that reimbursement resolution for $600,000. The V&E alone is $1,032,000. That's, we have a lot of vehicles and equipment. Police radios, $470,000. We have the firewall and computer equipment that I know the firewall is end of life for $115,000. The trailer and gun range we're talking about is about $100,000. Cover for the basketball courts at Memorial Park, Brittany's run off. The belt press, $500,000. The insert valve machine and these were talked about when we were talking about the priorities for water, I believe. I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Fleet building improvements, vehicle for CID, and then the cost of issuance is about I'm estimating about $75,000. So assuming we can get a good issuance cost and a low interest, we think we could probably pull off about $3.5 million if council approves and everybody agrees to go with this. This is just, all this is a possibility.
Are there any questions?
Yes.
Before we move on?
A tax note issue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, a 3.5 tax note, we can get all of those capital items this fiscal year.
Can we get this printed out?
Can we what?
Get it printed out
Absolutely.
for closer review, especially the table, that's a lot to look
I'm
at.
going to go see if I can print it out.
Thank you.
Where is it on the I'll go print it out.
Let me give you
How many copies do we want? Like 10?
I would just do 10.
Okay,
Maybe.
thanks.
Ryan's back there taking pictures, so. he doesn't
I
have
was
time.
taking pictures of Rob.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's weird.
That's
Well, y'all
personally.
got some good stuff on there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
again, this is subject to change. It was just from our discussions. These I know were hot topics that were discussed at our meeting.
Belt press, is that it? Is that wastewater?
Wastewater treatment plant, yeah.
Yes.
It's at end of life? Past?
We're having to spend a lot of money, on everything just because of how old it was. The multiple freezes that we've had have really hurt the pipes, and so we're spending a lot to fix it, and I think we could get more bang if we replaced it. Especially with having a new treatment plant out there, we're trying to fix everything, that's what it is.
Would, Ryan, with that belt press, when we did this wastewater plant bond, construction project right now, we removed one of the clarifiers.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
Is it needed? Do we need to go back and
Is the clarifier needed?
Yeah.
I mean, to make this thing work like it should, you need a belt press better. And we probably have a change order that may be coming to fix some of the breaks in the current clarifier because they were underwater and didn't get fitted on. So I'd like to fix this stuff out there and then say, the letter date, say, yeah, I mean, for capacity, a clarifier would, but the stuff that needs to be fixed would be the first priority of ours.
So, just to back up, all of our staff got together and decided what the priorities were. So Ryan came to us and said, these are my top priorities. And that's where these are pulled from. So Brittany's top priorities, Carrie's, everybody. So I don't know that Carrie had any capital, but that we did go through that process.
Y'all even had a priority.
Y'all had a priority, it did not make it on, no. It's not in this capital.
No, I just,
This is a way trimmed down version of what we brought to our budget.
Oh, yeah,
process.
they brought like
Everybody has like 20 for our
a
CIP
gazillion number.
of our wants and needs, and these are stuff we can't really live without, or we don't want to live without because it affects our day-to-day activities.
We can't fund the capital plan.
Can some of that be funded through impact fees?
That's the rest of the list.
That's, okay,
Different list.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, gotcha.
we went through our originals, yeah, there's a lot of that can be, but, those did not make it on that.
Okay,
Right there.
this is what's priorities that are left.
It's either O and M, but it's pushed out, yeah, so, what do you say, Robbie, over 10 years, 5 years?
These are like capital items.
Yeah.
Yes.
You put a time limit on how we approach those to fund them correctly. Is that right? Like,
Yeah, these have a useful life, these should have a useful life of at least 7, because the tax notes are gonna be for 7 years, yes. Or would be for 7 years, if council wants to go there. This is just an example.
Yeah, the impact fees have their own capital list. It's not gonna be in here.
Okay.
All right.
Can you go ahead while we're waiting on the printed copy? And we can come back to that if you'd like.
Just kind of comparing what that overall tax rate, what it would get, where we are now versus where we would be in light of where everyone else is in 2024. You can see that we're, still significantly under what we are with comparative cities. This is overall, from an overall tax rate, not broken down, kind of compare. This would be what the split would be, basically right at our 60-40 split. This, we don't have anything updated yet. Hopefully we'll have the audit to you in June. That's what we're looking at. June 10th is what we're shooting for, to get an update. We are expected though to still be, of course, below our 180-day
And
goal.
you have asked us to work towards adding 30 days this year. So
Yes.
just, that's not been lost on us.
Yes. Talk about that. We have the 2025. We had the 2025 numbers that we were able to add to the graph. Values did go up, like we were talking about the 8.7%, or rounded, it was 9. We're able to add again the new tax values. You can see again that it was not very much. It was like a small amount. Again, we were talking about the slowing growth. Number of properties went up to 2%. And that this would be what we'd be looking at with that if we ran with that tax rate, and how that would look with our values. And then this is what we're looking at with water and sewer, going into stage 3. And this is sales in gallons. And you can see the precipitous drop off in January and February. If we kind of dive in a little more closely, you can see we're looking at like a 20-25% drop off. It bounced back up in April, but we're not expecting we expect that to be a blip. We're expecting it to be like 25% dip in sales. So that's significant. While at the same time, our costs, whenever from San Patricio Mud, those went up almost 8% whenever we went to stage 3 water restrictions. That's what hit us in January. So the cost went up, sales went down 20-25%. So that's putting a squeeze on us from a utility standpoint. Financial budget talk about the needing getting fund balances, of course, for the reserves. General fund has to cover anything that has any negative fund balance. That's the nature of the beast. Talked about with Bob, voter approved rate, 3.5% max. We're adding more square footage, talked about that. We need to absorb, not add any gas employees who are not picked up by the city of Corpus Christi. Hopefully that will be sold. We're not budgeting anything for gas this year, for next year, excuse me. We're assuming that that's going to be sold before New Year starts. The marketing position is being budgeted. It was approved last year, but it's being budgeted this year. It wasn't budgeted last year. Yeah, we talked about the gas system. We talked about the debt. We talked about don't use your operating money to buy for projects or for capital. Scrub those. Following the Wildan study, we haven't deviated from that. Although again, stage 3 water restrictions, we're sticking to our guns on that. And then we talked about incorporating the strategic budget into the city processes. All your capital improvement projects, just to kind of show what we have. And again, some of these items were pulled out and incorporated into that list that we looked at before. But again, this is the latest and the greatest of what we have, and we'll make this available to you, of course. But we can look at what the departments are looking at having. I know there's some Just FOIA software that Shelley's definitely been keen about. Streets, and again, on the streets, it depends on how aggressive council wants to be in terms of if y'all want to go expand beyond the CIP, if y'all want to start trying to tackle Austin streets or some of these others as well. I mean, that's always an option as well. It's up to you all. Water, utilities, wastewater, and then like as Chief was saying, we're trying to do a lot of things with grants. So is Public Works. So everybody's looking under.
I do want to say we have that $1 million for the cops. The grant will not pay the half of that in year 1. It's a 3-year, $500,000, right?
3-year, $500,000. Year 1 would be $140,000, and it has to increase each year. So
right.
The second year would be $170. Third year would be $190.
So right. So don't think that if we put in 5, they're going to put in 5. That's not exactly how it works.
We got the grant, or we're applying?
No, applying for
We're
it.
applying for it again, and they only allowed us to apply for 4 officers.
Okay.
Percentages.
So it's tiered. That's what it would fund. Would be the 100. That would be our contribution. Oh, okay.
And I also need to add, this covers salary and benefits, but it doesn't cover vehicles, equipment, cars.
Right.
Okay, so those would need to be added. Okay.
Then it falls off in year 3. Sorry, it falls off in year 3.
Year 3 falls off.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about working as a team. That's what this process is for, is everybody getting on the same page. Where we are right now, we're getting our budget sheets back. If y'all haven't turned in your budget worksheets, we need them. We're compiling that because I gotta get the preliminary department numbers and all that to the city manager here pretty darn quick. So if you haven't turned them in, please do so. Any questions?
The gas system employees that do decide to leave, can those vacancies, can the money typically budgeted for those vacancies be used in any of these new programs, new hires? Or would that just be, since we're not funding the gas department at all?
The gas system, the gas was basically losing money, so it's good that it's going, because it was basically
Were
free.
those employees paid out of the utility funds for the gas?
They were paid out of the gas fund. Yes, sir. So
So there is no money there to pay for some of the new,
Correct.
Okay.
yes, and what it's looking like right now is that after we pay off the debt that's associated with the gas, that there may be a little bit left over that we're planning on putting to fund balance to help shore up our fund balance in the general fund. But it's not going to be significant. It doesn't look to be significant at this time.
So with the employees, our plan is, I anticipate a couple of them probably going with the gas company that buys the system. Maybe. We've already left one position open, correct? We're not filling we have one open position. And then as we will add them to the head count temporarily, but through attrition, we'll reduce the head count by the number of gas employees that we're adding. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
So the absorption the extra money for that is only temporary. I mean, unless nobody in that range of work ever quits again, but,
Which we do have pretty big turnaround
Right.
there, especially during the summer.
so we're adding to the head
If we
count. but
lose
it's
one of
temporary.
our, not a gas guy, but another guy, then we're not gonna fill those at that time. We're just gonna absorb that one in, and then we'll only be paying for 4 people. And then we'll continue to do that till we're back to our original number.
Yeah.
Or we
Makes
come
sense.
back and raise the number, or we.
With the exception of Jan. Jan is a added head to the overall count. If Jan leaves with her new duties, she's gonna be rehired. We'll hire someone to fill that position. That's the only one, that's a added head count out of the gas permanently. Okay, I think everybody understands, so keep moving.
I've been trying, Candace.
So
It's okay, I'll make it.
in the new initiatives, we're looking at nine new positions, nine new employees full-time.
Tell me this again?
On the new initiatives, we're asking for 9 new FTEs.
Yep.
I think so.
Okay. And that is included in what we're looking at in the budget right now, the preliminary budgets.
No,
I've not added any of those to the Jan's in there, but no new initiatives have been included.
Okay, so new initiatives are not included in the .434. Tax rate, potential possible tax rate.
No, sir, no. I'm not, because we don't have all the departmental,
We're not there yet.
budget, we're not there yet. Yes, sir.
so if we kept our departmental budgets relatively flat, would there be any money to support new initiatives?
We'd have to see, we'd have to see once, if we're gonna entertain the salary study.
fair enough, we'll talk about that one next.
I don't know how else to phrase that.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Can you get a list of the, projects that fall under M1P? Or not?
We'll get you whatever you.
Just so we can kind of compare, I do know what you guys are doing.
Is
Yeah,
there,
we,
can you go get that CIP list that was generated from the impact fee study?
Ryan, I think that's it.
No, I think that, the next step, you want me to go over with Fulton? You want me to go over with Fulton?
Yes, it's a good time to talk about, we currently contract with Fulton to, provide supplemental police services. Right now, they pay us $60,000 a year for that. For the hours that we're putting in, that is not working. So we are going to increase our ask of them to $180,000. I know that's a big increase in 1 year. We'll negotiate it. But they have 2 officers that work 7 to 3, and then we're covering the rest of the time,
So we're,
Monday through Friday.
and so since January 1st of this year until yesterday, we've covered 397 calls in the town of Fulton. Their officers have covered 135. And so we're taking over 2/3 of their calls in their jurisdiction. When they have 2 officers, we're only getting reimbursed for 1 officer's salary, barely even covering that. And so I think the only fair thing to do is either ask them for more money. And there's other options too. We're not a big fan of it, but the sheriff's department could always pick it up. We want to keep working with them. We have a great working relationship with them, but we need more reimbursement for what we're covering in Fulton.
Can their budget withstand that increase though?
So they just started their budget session yesterday.
And we let them know for that. I do have a text to Mayor Cole that we need to meet and discuss this. I have a couple of items to discuss with her. So
They're aware of our intentions, but everything would go through the interlocal agreement that we would agree on prior to bringing it to you guys.
we're asking for 180.
Yeah, 'cause my only concern is, being a smaller, they're in a township and it's smaller, it is a huge increase, not disagreeing why you're asking, but just for a 1-year increase, for them to be very good for their budget, where they wouldn't even afford to be able to do that, so maybe, I just wanna see how that feels, I haven't ever seen their budget, so I'm not sure.
And that's what I want to talk to Mayor Cole about. Maybe we need to put an incremental increase over a period of years or a period of months or something, where we can talk about all options. We need you to know that you are supplementing that service right now. The 180 would be where you are not. We can negotiate that if you would like to continue to supplement that service. Totally fine, it's not right or wrong, it's just an option.
With that 16,000, couldn't they just impose another officer? with
See,
that
and
Fulton?
so,
And then would we still be backing up a number of calls beyond that?
and so it's my hope that they'll make some changes to the way that they run their police department, whether that be in hiring another full-time officer, changing the hours of which the 2 officers work, cover some weekend nights, cover some weekends in general, cover evenings, that's whenever Fulton gets busy, that's whenever all of our, most of these
They have
calls
a
are,
nightlife.
most of our calls are on the weekends and on the evenings when their officers only work 7 to 3 at the same time, Monday through Friday.
What about the sheriff's department? I mean, do they cover that area as well?
So if the city of Rockport didn't have an agreement, that would fall back on the sheriff's department to cover that jurisdiction. For whatever reason, long ago, the city of Rockport came to this agreement. We've been, the furthest back I can find the agreement is 2013.
Yeah,
You may know more about that.
they at one point in time had, and this is 10 years ago or more, they were paying the sheriff's office to cover calls for service in Fulton. And at the time, we could not figure out just exactly why they were doing that. I mean, they're responsible to work the county, but they were going up from let's say $70,000 or $80,000 to $250,000 a year. And they said, we ain't got it.
And that was way back
Kendrick
then.
was mayor at the time. And we sat down, they asked, what would it cost us for y'all to answer calls? And the agreement with them is that we would answer calls, forward them to Rick McLester, who was their only employee at the time. And he would do follow-up. Good idea, but it didn't work that way. We still did a lot of follow-up on criminal activity. But it was, we told them that the cost of one officer, if they paid for the salary and whatever of one officer, we could add answering the calls. And that was with no traffic work, just answering calls. And so it has been, I suppose, ever since, it's been $60,000 a year.
It has been.
Which it probably wasn't designed to stay $60,000 a year forever. But they wouldn't have coverage if they didn't find some way to do it without $250,000. And it created a little bit of a problem with counties.
At the end of the day, we're throwing a lot of our law enforcement resources to the town of Fulton with getting really very little in return.
And I'm sorry, how many years has it been? 64, you said?
Since at least 2013.
2013. Now it's back to sheriff said they didn't have enough manpower. Is that different now? Do they have more employees there?
They have.
They only have one at a time. They've got
Right.
2 full-time.
So they only have two.
They have
They
two,
only go
two
7 to
full-time
3.
now, but they
So you still
both
have
work
to
at the
separate,
same
they're not
time.
gonna have,
Well, they have 2 full-time and they both work 7 to 3.
no, I'm talking about the sheriff's.
Oh, the sheriff's department, I don't know.
The sheriff's.
The sheriff's department, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we didn't have an agreement, they would be, I think regardless of whether they got reimbursed or not, they would still be required to cover the
I would
calls.
think they would have to answer calls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
because there's other towns in the state that don't have police departments that
Yeah.
are as large as
that
Rockport.
don't pay for coverage.
And we don't wanna dump them. We don't wanna just say we're not gonna do it anymore. We don't wanna say, you know, you have to give us a buttload of money for us to continue and to basically hold them ransom. We want to work out something that we can live with, but we still have to recoup our costs.
But that's where I'm kind of going back here to saying, if we didn't have that agreement and the sheriff's office was there, we would still, I guess, as a good nature of us, still help them out. We would still, if they needed police, presence there for something, we would still go ahead and do
Yeah,
That would just be number 3, so it would be Fulton, sheriff, and then us.
So regardless if you have an agreement or anything, we're still gonna have to foot some bill, because if they're not having enough money to, or enough manpower to handle it.
Potentially, I mean, we do that now, even in the county. If the county has nobody to cover a call that needs immediate assistance, we'll go help them out with that. and so-
And technically, they have got, with 2 full-time officers, they have got what they had when we've supplied them 1 officer. So they've got 2, which is what they had with our guy and Rick. So they've got 2 now, which gives them the coverage that we were giving. So we're still providing additional help. And I understand their need. I think the calls for service have gone up because the nightlife has gone up.
Well, why don't they just switch from one night and one day?
We can't control their policies.
But I
That's the
mean,
issue.
would that make sense to
That would-
them?
that
But
would
if we're talking
cause-
about it.
That would fix a lot of our problems. but-
So let's propose it to them, like, hey, your schedule is 2 weeks to take care of your town.
Lee,
So when they inherited a second position for the police department a number of years ago under Rick, that second officer always worked evening shift and worked weekends. And it stayed that way through other administration, and John Harrell was the chief, and they hired on, and so they've had several officers and they did that. But this new administration, when we hired on the officer that he has now, they both work Monday through Friday, 7-ish to 2-ish, if you will. Off nights, off weekends. They have 3 reserve officers too. 3 reserve officers. The only time I'm aware of those reserve officers working nights or weekends is possibly during Oyster Fest. I can't be for sure because I'm off those
yeah,
weekends myself.
and reserve officers are officers that basically just want to keep their commission. They don't get paid whenever they work, so Fulton can't make them come in and work, even though they may have these 3 other additional officers.
Is there a way to do, instead of just one allotment, per year to do it based on call.
Is that how y'all do it, by percentages, Lee?
I didn't hear exactly what you said.
Instead of doing one allotment of, service charge per year, to do it based on call volume. Just because it may give them an initiative to increase their own coverage, to reduce the cost per call, or saying, okay, well, we'll just budget for even the 180, and if they gotta do it, they gotta do it. You know what I mean?
So there's two different, so we have the interlocal agreement, with dispatch services that covers law enforcement only, and of course it's, the Rockport Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, and the Mountain Police. And then the chief, the interlocal agreement the city has regarding the response to Fulton, that's a separate agreement. So every year I turn in, at the beginning of June, I turn in the last 12 months of data. And so in a couple of days, I'll get to do that. And so it shows the percentages of the jurisdiction-based call. We used to pull the data according to the agency, but we pull it for the jurisdiction, which makes sense, in which their comptroller requested that we do. So we started doing that a couple of years ago. That way is that it doesn't matter if Fulton PD response, Rockport PD response, or the Sheriff's Office response, if that event is in the city limits of Fulton, then it's a Fulton call. Same thing with Rockport, and same thing with the county. So that's how we pull that. And so I'll be pulling those percentages in a couple of days, like I said, after the 31st, because when I go back from, I'll pull basically June of 2024 through May of 2025 to see those percentages. I did a preliminary pool a month ago because Robbie asked me to do so we just kind of see where we are regarding my budget, because that's based on those percentages. And I realized, Chief, that my Rockport PD numbers were quite a bit higher, and I think it's because of traffic stops. So I needed to move my data a little bit, subtract, and redact the information there. But the calls for service in Fulton appear to be a lot lower than normal, and I think that's because we're not there as much, because we're there all the time anyway. That's just Lee's opinion. Our units, they're not supposed to just constantly run traffic, and that was the agreement, was go for the call, then go to Nate, go for the call, then leave the city, go back to the city of Rockport. And so, I think that a lot of times our units ended up in Fulton longer, nightlife, weekends, those kind of things, but today it's maybe not as much. And so, but I'll get the more accurate data and present it as soon as possible. But it is based on, communications budget, and the pro rata shares of the dispatch services is call per entity, per jurisdiction.
Would that make sense for us to do the same?
So we can that's how I got these numbers, and it's a little more complicated in running the data, because you have to select all the individual RPD officers, make sure it's the city of Fulton, and for a certain time frame. But that's how I got this information.
We can structure an agreement about the same way if Fulton agrees to that.
It'd probably flesh out to the same, because at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking these questions just to have background on everything, just so if you go into negotiations and you come back, if you can have that information in our heads of what you really do. Because I think it's not just the police part, I think there's other things that we have been supplementing that we could be doing much better on.
We're trying.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that's a disadvantage for the parsing out the calls is there's not a set number to budget. So
I guess that's my question is.
It's gonna be a fluctuating number that they can't put in their budget, and if it's already tight and there's an unknown, like Lee gives them last year's values to budget, they pay a year behind, right?
Well, they can still have a basis just based on last year's call rate. I mean, you have the data there to set a preliminary for the next budget.
Right.
So they have enough information, whether they want to go high, set it at that mark.
It's gonna fluctuate based on what they have going on.
But there's enough data there for them to set the basis of within their budget for it if they chose to do so.
I think that structuring an agreement like you do that would be good.
Definitely think the agreement needs to be relooked at in 12 years.
Yes. So, do you guys Nope, that wouldn't be the right place to go. I'll talk to Mayor Cole. Does your board, communications board doesn't need to go over that? Your comms.
I also think it's important for us to like, now that, you know, we have a lot of these coming up where it's things that we haven't looked at in way too long. We need to really start getting a structured schedule in place of saying, you know, within your department, like, these agreements are at minimum going to be reevaluated at this term.
And that's how they read right now, is that they can be, they're reevaluated every year, and unless one party wants to renew the agreement, it just carries on years.
Especially you saying we're gonna increase our you know, our, just Rockport at 2.8%
Right.
a year. I mean, those areas are increasing their resident volume as well, so I think every year this should probably come back in front of us at budget time.
So we're working all of our agreements to be on a schedule and to have to be renewed at a set time frame.
And this actually came before y'all just last year, and of course I was the new chief, and I talked to the chief there, and I was like, tell you what, we'll keep it the same for this year, but just be prepared for next year, which is now, that we're probably gonna increase it.
I think probably at the time this was done, we expected it to go up over a period of time, because, you know, it depends on how many, we can't pay one officer $60,000 a year and keep him. So it was essentially for the cost of one officer, and it didn't include the gasoline you drove and like that, because we drove through Fulton.
And our officers, you know, they told us this past Memorial Day weekend, they spent all Friday and Saturday night in the town of Fulton, dealing with the drunks and the bar scene out there.
Yeah. So it has changed, and I don't think it was intended that it stay $60,000 a year forever. But I understand why it would have, because we had an agreement that we would only change it in the event we needed to. And if it renewed, it would be because nobody brought it up.
And please note, on these agreements, from a cost structure, I mean, the police, I mean, that's fixed, that's kind of, we know what an officer costs and what a police car costs. Whereas Lee's department, hers is an internal service. It's shared by different entities, and so that's why she gets a count and it's allocated out every year. So just know that as we're going into these, we'll do it however you wish, but just know that his costs are pretty much fixed, so we know that what we need to be getting to cover his costs.
We'll work closely with Fulton and come to an agreement that we all agree with and that you all will agree with. But it just needs an increase from what we're doing.
I haven't heard back from Mayor Cole from the other day. Why don't you try to get Ty and Kelly in the same week, and let's talk about it. Okay, so we'll work towards going to a per call structure on that.
Can we also get a breakdown? I know that it says 5 patrol officers, but breakdown per additional cost per officer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay? Any more questions there?
11 o'clock, we'll take another break, or you want to eat in 30 minutes or so?
Can we eat 30 minutes, Shelley?
I think so.
Okay, let's eat 30 minutes. Yes. That'll give me enough time to, what do we have next? Can I skip the comprehensive plan review and go to the prior budget items, and that'll give me a chance to go over the salary survey, which might need some digestion with your Frito pie. So this was year 5 for our Condry salary survey. And then I have some extra copies if you guys want to grab them. So we did our 5-year survey. They looked at every position specifically and gave us some options. So I'll let you read the actual narrative on your own, but we have options A, B, and C. Option A is 100%, nope, I'm lying. I'm gonna go backwards. Option C puts us at 100% of market value. Option B puts us at 102% of the market value. And option A puts us at 105%. So when we start looking at these options, there's a value and then there's a time additive. So a time, I want to say time served, but that's not right. So based on your length of time here, there's an additive for that. Talking to Condrey, Plan B puts us at 102%, but Plan B by September is anticipated to move down to 100% by the time everybody gives their COLAs and things like that. So as we look through this, I am recommending Plan B adopted in September, which would put us at 100% of the market. We won't be above or won't be below, we'll just be average. If we go with Plan C, which is 100% now, in September we'll be slightly below. Does that make sense to everybody?
Because it was recommended Plan C if we did it immediately.
Plan C, yeah, if we do Plan C, do it now, or do Plan B now and put the additive in September, or do all of Plan B in September, which would put us at 100%. So we're not gonna do anything now because we don't have the budgeted money. So I'm working off of the Plan B adopted October 1. The cost of Plan B is $368,995. Is that right?
Yes. No, that's what I'm reading.
Yeah.
I have a pretty.
Okay. So that's, and this will be in lieu of any COLA, anything. This is what we give this year to bring us at market. Next year, you know, we have to look at COLA, merit, whatever it would be. But everybody in here gets something. Some get a lot, some get a little. The ones that are very low, I think we decided are here or not here. So if you go then to in your packet, be sure you have the one that says Plan B at the bottom. So you have 3 of these in the packet. Take the clip off right here. Got it? So be sure you're looking at the one that says Plan B. And it has every position. This is their current salary. This is the proposed new salary. And then if you add the time in, I think there's a number for 1 to 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you've been here 1 to 3 years, you get 1 step on the pay grade, and 4 plus
years, 2 steps.
There you go. They're moving our pay steps and grades a little bit. They're going from numbers to letters. So right now you might be a 124. Going forward, you'll be a 1C. So they're making it a little more understandable.
The pay scale overall would change.
Right. This will shift the entire pay scale.
Do we address compression? Is there compression addressed in there at all? For years, it's like 3 years, going from grade A to B.
Huh?
That was the only huge issue for us. The lower grade you were, the more
Growth you have.
versus if you're high end,
Yeah.
Z letters.
Right. Are you at the end of your grade?
And so you may see a letter Z, you may see a $1,000 raise, where this guy sees a $10,000 raise, and he's always texting you. And so.
Yes, I think that's what the
Compression was always an issue for us.
time differential does. Now, it will shift the whole scale, so nobody's at the end.
The shells keep, the Z employee keeps moving, as Z moves through the years, the Z.
He goes with Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, Z changes from $1 to $10 to $20. Z doesn't always stay at $1.
I just know it affected the long-term employees, the ones that have been here a long time. It affected them greater than the newer
Agreed.
tenure employees.
I think I don't think we pay a lot of attention to where you are on the scale. We use it as the number to say this is what you get paid. But if you're a 3 double Z, we're gonna move you to 4, or we're gonna move you to 5, because 1, you've probably taken on added duties, and 2, you're not gonna sit at a double Z just because you've reached the end of an arbitrary.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's just not how it works. It's supposed to.
But you can move them up in a step, right?
You can move them up a grade.
A grade, yeah.
Right.
But this does move them up, yes, for tenure.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
What would preclude us from looking at Plan A?
Nothing. I grab a working document, so if we go over to Plan A, the cost of implementation
With
is.
$110,000 difference, $107,000.
Okay.
But to me, that seems like a buy you some time in the future, COLA or merit.
Well, I agree. So this puts us at 100, Plan A puts us at 105% today. It might put us at 101 or 2% in October. So you're right. I mean, they did commend us and be like, they said, you're doing pretty good keeping up. And you guys have done really well by the employees in trying to keep up with the market.
What are we at market? Where do we stand today in market?
I don't know overall.
But they did, they didn't do, the neat thing about this is they literally went through every single position and they interviewed as far as I know, every single director and at least with me, our individual staff members, asking what they were doing and specifically so that they could put this together specifically for those positions.
Right.
So Robbie's position in Sinton was the same, so we're making sure those apples, comparing apples to apples.
And they were taking into consideration all their duties. So like we had CIPs, we just added some extra duties to them. We gave them a little bump, so they were specifically told, we just added these duties. So in Sinton, they do all of this, and here we do all of this, but we also do this. So, yes.
Yes.
Everything was taken into consideration. They were very thorough.
Yeah, very thorough. I was impressed.
I'm worried about, if we just do Plan B, that gets us to 102% of market, 100% market in September.
Right.
Are we looking at another 3 to 5 COLA next year?
Probably.
But if you go to Plan A, does that?
Can we reduce that a little
Could
bit?
it start it off a little bit or reduce that COLA? But everybody's always chasing salary study too. It's like as soon as you get one and you're 105% of market, then your group, the people around you are going to go.
They're using us saying, oh, they're 105%.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's a game.
It is very much so. If you do look on here, there's some things I want to point out that I don't want you to be super concerned over, so I want to give you details. There's a communications officer that is recommended to get $158. She is no longer with us or part-time. There's 2 of them on there. Valerie is part-time.
She's part-time.
And Vanessa is
Part-time,
So-
full-time at PD.
I don't see it.
right. So first page, there are just 2 on there that are really low. Richard Page as an officer is really low, but he is no longer here. And
He's just promoted.
he was promoted?
to lieutenant.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Which one is not here anymore?
Frost,
Who?
Mark Frost.
Frost, sorry. He was at 410. He's no longer here. Sorry, tell, Officer Page, I apologize. And then some of the other people that are a little bit on the lower end, they were hired at a higher rate than we maybe normally would because they brought a specific set of skills. If we want to point out like Diane on here, it doesn't look like she gets much of a raise, but we hired her high in the scale because of the skill set she brought. And then there's some people that are pegged to get quite a bit of money, and that's because they've been behind for quite a few years.
Yeah. And they've been here a long time.
And they've been here a long time.
Yes.
So,
But that's all, in the study, that is
it's factored in.
factored in, what's the word?
It's an equalizer.
They've done the due diligence and that is merited, for that, that money is merited compared to our
Yep.
other cities.
And what's nice about this is it's independent third party. It's not arbitrary or anything. It's,
Vanessa didn't make it up.
Well,
fact,
it's nice
they
when
didn't
you have the union does their own.
Huh?
The union gets to do their own,
Oh, right.
and cherry pick the cities in the state.
yes.
Another thing of note in this, we are not doing the lifeguard retention this year because we are adopting this. We got some lifeguards making a lot of money because of that retention. And it's great. They come back year after year. We don't besmirch it, but we're gonna forego it to go with this because they also get the time. If we adopt it, they get the time differential.
In my opinion, would be to throw out C, because that puts the board market in 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
So we're chasing ourselves again.
Okay.
And this is a 5 years,
Every 5 years.
we did one 5 years ago.
Yep.
Or we did do one
Yep.
5 years ago.
I'm told. I wasn't here. Yes, ma'am.
It was 4 years, I think. I think they did it in 2020, and then it became effective in 2021.
Okay.
For 4 years.
So we're doing it in 2025, and it's gonna be effective 2026.
Yes, sir.
So,
Did they change any of the their payroll back when they did the study last time? Is that,
tell me this again?
did they change the payroll on this? When you guys did the study last time, did the payroll change?
I do not know. Did
Some of these
they,
are,
Kimberly, when last time they did this, did they bump everybody up or put everybody, did they
Yes.
adopt this?
Yes, I don't remember seeing a chart like that, but yes, they went based off the job description, additional duties, and longevity.
Did you get a big bump? You.
No. They weren't paying me a nickel then.
Oh.
Paying me a nickel then.
Okay. Yes, council is not included on this. Sorry.
we get paid for what we're working.
Okay. What kind of questions do y'all have regarding this?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Did they give you any breakdown comparative between the different cities that they looked at?
They did. It's in the, what did I do with my report? Oh, here we go. It's in the beginning of the report.
Okay.
They compared us to Aransas County, Aransas Pass, Beeville, Corpus, Fredericksburg, Ingleside, Kingsville, Palacios, Port Lavaca, Portland, Centon, Tomball, and Victoria.
Lord, that's Houston.
Yeah. She said she wanted to pull a few outsiders. Fredericksburg, that's an outsider.
They didn't list what comparative numbers these people did.
I don't have the numbers. No, they did not give us a chart
It's
to
not
that.
really necessary, I was curious.
So we need direction to work off of table A, table B, scratch it, go for COLA merit. Nothing, what are y'all feeling?
A, we're starting out behind, I think that B would be a good place to work from.
Do you like B? consent.
opinion would be, I would like to see A and B, see something in there for A or B. Let's factor in those two.
Okay, so we have the definitive numbers for those. You want us to plug it in the budget and say,
Or A or B.
huh?
Plug them in, and then that way we can compare the two.
Okay. Very good.
I'd like to see us, I just don't want us to be back at market in 4 months, 5 months, and then we're in the same position, like 14 months from now, 16 months from now, trying to do another one. Not another salary study, but another.
Catch up.
Yeah.
And we know that we're gonna be behind.
If we hit A, we'll be a little bit ahead. C is the one that will be behind.
Okay. Yes.
A is a little bit ahead, B is even, C is behind.
Okay.
It can also help you attract.
C is how far ahead? Now,
C is behind.
missing something I said.
C
A
puts us
is, okay, we started with C, yes.
Right, C
I'm
puts
looking
us
backwards at these things.
at 100%.
Yes,
B is 102.
okay,
A is 105.
okay.
The B 102 will be 100 in September.
These things, I shouldn't do that.
I know, I shouldn't have started backwards, but.
I like to plug
Is
in
there
the
a
A.
few fluctuation because of the gas, like it depending on how many gas stay or not, because they're included in this, right?
So they'll go into the position, they'll keep their gas pay, we're not probably gonna fluctuate them if they come in, but it's put by name here, but going forward, it's the position. So if one of the gas guys goes into your department, he'll get the higher of the position he goes into or the gas. So I'm not gonna lower anybody's pay. Does that make sense?
I thought this one was enough.
Okay. Good? I think we're ready to eat, if y'all don't have more questions.
That will keep us from having to do a COLA or merit
That's in lieu of.
in lieu of.
Right, right. We're not proposing to add anything on top of that.
And that should,
The same as for how.
looking just a very fast read through the numbers, that should be better than a COLA well, for some,
It's a mixed bag, but for most people, it's pretty good.
yeah.
It's pretty good. And you get it October 1st. So, you get your money all year and merit, you don't have to wait till January, February when I do your review. So there's benefit to it.
Yeah, I want to see both and see how hard it hurts.
You got it.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards A, but if it hurts the budget too much, then.
I mean, it was 107 or 110,000.
Right, I think it would be minimal in the budget, don't you, or not?
A doesn't make us run, that would be that too. It would be the most-
We're looking roughly at $1 million.
Right.
Roughly.
Okay.
We said, well, to see what we can get the department budgets and we drop all that in. We'll look at it.
Okay. All right. I think Shelley is still setting out the goods, so I will pass this out. We're only briefly. Oh, sorry. We're only gonna touch on this, it's a lot of information. I pulled out the pertinent pages of the comprehensive plan, just because I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we do have a comprehensive plan. I feel like your goals and objectives that you set out are pretty well in line with that, and we'll match them up at a later date. But one of the biggest things I want is for you, did I just skip you, sorry? This is you guys' strategic plan information, and I want you to give that a look and see if you think we're on track there. So, break, y'all can go eat.
Y'all very much. We're back in session.
Right before we took a break, I handed out two things. The one that says draft deliverable, that I obviously handed out mine, is the stuff that you guys came up with. You probably have had a chance to look that over while you're eating, but those are the items that we're gonna be relating our budget requests back to. So we'll be saying, you know, 1, 2, 3, this is what initiative it means. So is there any recommendations or changes to that? Is there anything that anybody strongly objects to?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So the other thing I handed out was pulled out of our comprehensive plan. We haven't been really working through the comprehensive plan the last 3 years, other than the zoning stuff that came out of that. I mostly passed this out so we can be cognizant that we still have a comprehensive plan, that we need to be conscious of the fact that this was a big study. This is what came out of it. This is the direction that we decided as a council to take the city. I was looking through your initiatives. They pretty well fall in line with these items, so there's no big deviation needed. But I put the let's see, I put the goals table here that came out of the master plan. Some of these things are policies that we can be working towards. Develop an annual maintenance and inventory for the transportation system. I think Ryan has been working on kind of a pretty loose inventory of all the roads. I think it's in his head, but he needs to write it on paper. Let's see, I just had implement complete street policies in the multimodal network to enhance safety and connectivity. We can adopt a street policy, but we need to bring that to you. So I just want us to start being aware of these items, that they do exist, they have been adopted by you. Put the goals there, and then I put the next part is the initiatives or the recommendations. Those are the colored pages. So the color coordinates back to these items. It's very well color coordinated. And then in the back are the objectives and the tasks. And like I said, I know we have gotten away from it. I specifically have gotten away from it because we've kind of been in survival mode. But I just want it to be on our radar that we have an obligation to work towards these things. So that's kind of all I had on that. I guess, are there any questions still outstanding that we need to cover? Anything that wasn't clear?
Was the comp plan 5 years, 10 years?
Most comp plans are updated every 5 years. I know it took y'all 3 years to adopt that one. It was adopted in 22. We probably need to start working on one in the next 2 or 3 years. Costs money.
Yeah.
Costs money. It's about $300,000 for a good one. I know that was student-led. We might want to consider going a different route next time. We may not, I don't know, but it's still gonna cost some money.
Like given to us.
Yeah, this was given to us.
As a gift.
It was a Harvey deal, and they came in and took over.
Okay,
That's why I was done that way.
okay. So we need to be thinking about that in the next couple of years. Robbie, if you want to put that on maybe the 26 wish list. We talk about that. And we've been updating several plans and impact fees and, things as we go. So we're getting there. It's a slow process. Okay. What else? What else do you want to talk about in the budget right now? Nothing? Okay. That means we're fabulously clear and There are no questions, so I'm gonna twist that.
And,
You have to digest.
I know.
I understood the other stuff, that's a unanimous vote.
True.
The, some of those, where's the package that we have to put right here?
I gave that.
Which
Some of
one?
those things that are on there, those long-term items that are rolling capital list. The rolling capital list. Can we, how do we start chipping away at some of these?
Okay, good. That's a great
They
question.
have been on there for years, some of them have been on there for years, longer than others.
So those are debt items, right? You know we're gonna need debt.
Yes.
One thing that we could do is put together a bond package. These are the things we're gonna do, this is what we need. Some of those would be eligible for, tax notes. Remember, we purchased part of City Hall on tax notes. Do you know how much we have on City Hall in tax notes?
Not wrong. In tax notes, I won't say, for some reason, I won't say two. No.
2 million for City
No.
Hall? Nevertheless, we purchased our part of City Hall on tax notes. That's a 7-year note. We intended to refinance them for a longer term. The legislature is now frowning on that. So we're 3 years into that 7-year note. That note will be paid off in 4 years, and that'll free up a lot of debt ability. Debt, right? Am I saying that?
Well, unless we raise rates, yes. The capacity.
Or, right. Or we can raise the tax rate on the INS side. If you want to grab some of those, and remember when we did that, a penny gets you this,
Yes.
a penny gets you that, you know, we can start taking those things and saying, here's what those pennies will get you. We can do that for this year. Otherwise, you would want to go out and do a bond election to start getting those things. Or we can start doing them on the INS side of the taxes.
Just some of the things, some of these I feel like if we went to a bond election and educated the community to the best of our abilities, I think some of these would, the electorate would be like, yes, these are things we want and need, let's go for it. But one of the things that I think we have to work hard on bonds is actually getting out there and
Yeah,
educating and selling it.
that's the thing. I don't think this community has any problem with paying for the nice things that they want. So the bond
Some of
process.
these aren't even really nice things, there's things that we really need.
Yeah. So I think that the bond process, if done correctly, wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, even like last night at the community engagement, when we started talking about tax rates, as soon as we started explaining like how much even one thing costs, people were like, oh, okay, like the more education you give, the reason why we have to spend this money or maybe go out for a bond election or what, we can educate as much as possible those ways. I think you can get a lot of people on board. You're always gonna have the people that don't want to do that, but you
It's
have to leave it up to
education.
I would wanna leave it up to the citizens to decide what they want to do with their tax dollars, but it would be something that I would be interested in, you know, if we can move forward on that to get some of these bigger things done.
So we can talk to Bob about what kind of bond package. It would be 2 years out now that we would have to consider that.
A lead time. Get it on that, there is gonna be a lead time.
Yeah, there would be a significant lead
Oh,
time.
certainly. I mean, this
But,
isn't something I want to say, hey, this happens done in November.
Right, so we can talk about what that would look like. Maybe after we finish this budget process, what do you think?
My other thing, I heard the school is gonna try going out for the election as well. So that'll be the other thing that they need to factor into.
Yeah, we don't want to be competing with them, I'm not
We
saying.
don't want to compete with the school district or one of our other local entities doing another bond that people might get sick of a bond.
I can talk to Dr. Austin and see kind of what their plan is, and we can offset anything we want to do, but
If it's, this is one of those things, would it be better to do small bonds every 2 years or a large bond every 10, or, you know, something like that.
So if you're gonna do something small, you might as well just do your tax notes.
I would say it would have to be a bigger one if we're gonna do the fall elections. More bang for your buck.
The thing is, if you go with a lot, I mean, you wanna be spending your bonds like every 3 to 5 years tops. You don't wanna be sitting on them a long time, because people, what are you doing?
What are you
the
doing
money?
with our money?
Yeah, what are you doing with our money?
Right.
Understandably so. So, and if we're already stretched pretty thin, so it's like, yeah, okay, now we got the money, now we gotta go do this project.
You gotta get it done.
And then it's kind of, uh-oh. So, one of the things that Corpus did, and I'm not saying Corpus is it, I'm just saying that one of the things that they did to augment staff is that they hired project managers to come on, and they paid them with the bond monies to go and do these projects, to implement these projects and get it going, because they didn't have the staff either to do it, because their staff's already doing day-to-day, just trying to keep up as it is. So that's what they did to augment.
Is that a single person, or is it a firm that, for the project management?
No, they had numerous project managers.
So we're,
Many of them were CIPs, like Kingsville and stuff. They had those.
we're starting to put project management in our jobs, especially when we get grants and stuff. We just don't have time to do the oversight, so he's right, that's the way to do it.
I know we've talked about some of these things since I've been here on council, and it's just like they just keep rolling off.
Right.
And,
Right.
And if it's never a priority, it's never a priority, but some of these things, they gotta be priority, because they were here 5 years ago on the list.
Would you like for us this year to put together the penny chart?
Yeah.
Well, see kind of what we can,
I think when it comes to that,
the penny, so if you do that was when we looked at the 2 pennies, 3 pennies, 4 pennies.
Right.
Whatever, maybe on the INS side.
Mhm.
Yes.
Now, remember, we're already planning for the
compensation fund.
The INS, like if we do a penny for the 2025 tax notice, is that what you're?
Yeah. Do we-
3.7.
1 penny.
It's like a, yes, for right now.
So we're already banking on 1 penny. So it'll be in addition to that.
But in that,
Would you find that slide on his presentation, please?
you know, if we say, here's why we're going for 1 penny, it's for these tax notes for this. But if we want to go 2 pennies, 3 pennies, 4, whatever it may be, if we can say, hey, we really want to chip away at some of these CIP projects that we've negated, neglected, not done for 10 years, or longer, or shorter, whatever it may be, but that's what we're gonna,
That's what this is for.
And maybe in 2 years, 3 years, we're gonna go for a bond.
Right.
Can you use that as a bank?
As a bank?
Yeah, as if you adopted 1 or 2 or 3 pennies, can it keep stacking up in there, or keep doing it? Or do you have a?
No, you take out the debt and you go do it.
Through the
Yeah.
debt.
So the other thing is, remember, our utility rates are set to fund the capital projects through those two funds. So anything we borrow to do those would be paid, the debt would be repaid through the rates that you adopted.
Yes.
Remember? Okay, so that's where that,
One of those big ones is Austin Street. We all know Austin Street, we need to help some. Magnolia Street, that's now giving the front door to City Hall and Courthouse.
those are huge undertakings. You're gonna need a bond for those. I don't think that there's any way you can get around a bond for
No,
those.
it's gonna be very hard to implement those on a penny.
Yep, nope, not gonna happen.
Oh, wait,
So-
back, okay.
But those things have been,
Nope. There you go. Keep going. Keep going, no, forward. So this is what, go back. This is what we chip away with a 1 cent increase this year. That's what so we'll do 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do up to 5 cents.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like for debt service, it's like, every penny is like 500,000
Okay.
roughly.
And I just have to say, sorry, the basketball courts can be a very hard thing to sell to raise taxes for.
Okay.
People don't, and I'm just, it's something that, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but like how if we have to push to raise taxes or people to pay an extra rent, it needs to be on just
That's why we're showing you.
necessary, right, stuff that needs to be done right now.
So,
Kind of information, I mean, like, the gun range might be a little harder too, but,
so can I talk about the gun range?
yeah.
I don't know that we need $100,000, but 20,000 gets us power out there, which opens up the 40 acres and the gun range to have power. I agree. A building at the gun range is gonna be hard to sell.
Well, and we had a building, allocated, but whenever from Corpus Christi ISD, one of their old portables, but after looking at it, it's not really good, so.
Right. But 20,000 gets us electricity, and then Brittany can hold events out there at the 40 acres, or we can start working towards the pickleball courts that we've been talking about, because we've gotten the power out there. So it says gun range, a little bit deceptive.
No, and that makes sense, I just, when you're gonna go for the budget, really this needs to be very necessary
Yeah, this is what,
things that need to be done right now, that need, for this situation here.
Okay.
Yeah, the CIP thing, that I think is gonna have to be a bond in the day, I just don't think even raising it a penny or 2 pennies is gonna help a lot of those projects.
right. So Ronnie, on this, take out the cover for the basketball, bump down the gun range, and actually put that as power to the 40 acres, because that's what more it is. I think we plan, the insert valve machine is a convenience item that we also think we can make money on, correct? So, okay. Bob,
Save money on leaking valves, both sides.
so everything else, the vehicle for CID, do you need that even if you don't get a new person?
It's a evidence ban, actually, what we're looking at, where we could have this van come out with everything that we need to process the scene. They can use it to take evidence to and from the Corpus Christi lab, DPS lab.
Okay.
The crime scene.
We haven't had it, no.
But it's independent of any people.
Yes.
What do y'all think, council?
Leave it.
Leave it?
So the fleet building improvements, I mean,
Ryan, you want to talk about the fleet building improvements? We've been chipping away at that
Yeah.
every year.
So, if y'all know where the fleet's at Laurel Street, it's on the left side of the property if you're coming in to pay your bill. We have swapped that building. It was approved to spend some money over there into that building for reshelling it and doing some insulation and stuff like that. Well, there's more problems to that building than that, so it's gonna cost us more. The other shell is better on the right side of the property. We're moving that operation to the other side of the property to run fleet out of there because that building's newer and better. That's kind of the gist of it. So concrete, already has some power stuff, but we're moving fleet over there.
So do you still need $200,000?
I mean, is that something that's can it wait to be done?
Can it wait?
Is there other things that we use $200,000 better for, is not just the building up?
So we already have money allocated for it.
So we're gonna cut that.
Exactly.
So we'll cut that out as well.
Those are the things I'm like, something that needs to wait. Because we can cut down that amount quite a bit, and that helps with chapters.
So you freed up $400,000 in this first penny. What we'll do is pull the next capital priority,
I got it.
just for you.
We're not gonna be able to work on that new vehicle without the,
Tell me again?
I'm not gonna be able to work on that new vehicle, this van, So I'm gonna need $70,000.
So was it? The gun range?
How much was the power? Was it 20 or 35? Brittany's behind you.
We would have to get with AEP.
I think that's
We're gonna have
Is
that
there anything
conversation
on
with
this?
them.
We're gonna plug in 30. If it's more than that, we probably don't need it yet. Okay,
funding water.
We're not funding those yet.
Dr. Ryan.
You hooked it up. You just shot one.
Okay. So we'll plug in a new capital priority with the money here. And then we will bring you 1 penny, 2 penny, we'll go up to 5, this is 1. So we'll go 2, 3, 4, 5. And see what it gets from there, down the list. After the budget season, we'll start talking about what we would put together for a bond package and what that would look like. Okay, does that work for y'all? No? You have a furrowed brow, what's up?
No, I'm just not smart. So,
Yes, you are.
If I may, on the 5 pennies, are you wanting to see also if any of those road projects would fit in there? Is that, okay, that's what I wanted, okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
What's your thought on that, Brad? Priority wise?
I mean, I think, honestly, I feel like we could cross the street down there, we've just been on your stuff. It's a big need, but we'll cover that.
Do you want to take out $1 million of tax notes to redo Austin Street?
I think it's on there for way more than $30.
Oh, you put 5 million.
So, and I know kind of just the goal, all this kind of talking is the TIRZ. How is it gonna affect what we're doing down there?
So the
You know,
TIRZ could pay for
We are
that.
in the reinvestment zone, so.
That is, but there's no money there now, and there won't be money there for 10 years. So, but could you pay yourself back? Could you pay the bond back? It
Or
was
if
on
we make it nicer, we
Hold
can
on.
make some more money.
It was on bond, not on tax.
The TIRZ could take out a bond, a tax note. The TIRZ could borrow the debt.
I can tell you that from staff, that's our number one concern is downtown, 100%.
What's the debt ceiling on that though? Like, is there has to be an amount of debt you can issue within that zone?
Is there an amount of debt? No, they just have to be able to pay it back with their projected growth.
Who's on the hook of if the here doesn't pay back?
TIRZ. It's not backed by the city.
But then what happens if
The TIRZ goes default, the TIRZ goes default.
so does the bond, or that's the risk they run?
Yeah. You're gonna have to prove that that TIRZ can pay for it.
Yeah. So to me, one of my priorities would be Austin Street, Magnolia Street, just because of the one, on Austin Street's, the detail. It's part of a big deal for the downtown acre project and potentially the tier stuff. The other would be the Magnolia Street, it's the front door to the courthouse and city hall.
So we will
Some rehab of
see
those.
how much INS we would need to raise to do Austin and Magnolia.
What do you think? I mean,
To
is that
what
a
level?
priority for you?
Do you want a Cadillac? Do you want a Corolla?
So what we're not building a new road, this would be a mill and
Mill
just
and
like
overlay.
top layer and level up. We want it to look nice, we have the courthouse, there's been years and years of patches and utility cuts, and all those should be done by now, so.
So you wanna take out the center median, you wanna take out the bulb outs, you wanna do a mill and overlay.
That's for Austin Street.
Okay.
Yeah, but everything that's hot mix that you see on there, Brad, but you know the difference. Enterprise, Austin, Bayshore, not that one, Enterprise, Water, those are all mill and overlays for a new road because of they've settled and it's time for them to facelift. They're not on our 7-year seal coat rotation. So since they've been built, they've never been addressed.
Do you have any utilities?
Yeah.
Do they anything changed out?
This was not, that was not affected.
Okay.
The,
Drainage RTC 1314.
Drainage hole 1314, you wanna talk about that?
That's,
Is that new?
that's behind Adelaide and all their.
What is it?
It's the same thing we did pretty much on 12,
Nope, tell us.
11, and 12, upgraded piping, weir valves, on clearing.
So that
It's
was,
to complete that whole run of, drainage section on that side.
so that one's new.
That's
Yes,
what-
ma'am.
Does Boston Street, are you including the lighting? You're taking out a median and putting it on the side, is that including the lighting?
I would.
that one, it's a remove me and move lighting from bulk off.
Yep. And that's our whole goal, is to get that center median out, open up downtown to where it used to be, and, so we can bring everything off of.
Does your
Bring it back to down, where everybody wants it.
Does your $4 million include moving the lighting?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we're also looking for grants, as
So,
we speak for those things. Thank you for that, by the way.
what did you say each penny gets us?
It gets us about 500,000 debt service, which can support about 3 million of projects.
A penny to support 3 million projects.
So for 2.5 pennies, we could get this whole list?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. It just depends on how much you want to go. But yeah, you can get some stuff done. Like Brad said, it's been sitting on there just year after year.
Is that stuff you want to pay for with taxes, though, or is that stuff you want to pay for with, other bond, COs or?
Well, if we're just doing, like mill and overlay, it's not like going in and putting in concrete streets or something like that, which I would definitely say to go with bonds if we were doing that. But if something that's gonna be of a shorter life, then I would say it'd be okay. The tax note isn't too far fetched.
So what about the magnitude that we're talking about, Austin Street, would that be better, a bond or
You mean just,
a $4 million project?
It's, to me, off that, well, and Ryan, please correct me if I'm wrong, that run, let's call it 10 blocks, so for a bond, I mean, that seems like doesn't seem like a big enough project.
It's a short piece.
Yes, sir, doesn't seem like a big enough.
Well, then why don't you incorporate Magnolia and just do that whole section? And there's another one on there, which is water.
Yeah.
There's church streets on there, I can't see that one. Is
No
it?
church.
We can upgrade that, we can make it its own project where it's everything right there from our piece, city limits, which is, Church Street, down to the navigation, Water Street, all upgrade all that, which it needs to be done, and then come down Magnolia. So when you come into the city to downtown, everything's fresh, everything has a new look. Go visit the arts and do those things with nice amenities. Everything around it's good. That's our goal. How do we get there? We can make it big enough.
And we think with 2.5, 3 pennies, that gets taken care of.
That was. Remember our other penny.
Yeah, no, I'm tracking that, but to me, I feel like that could be sold to, you hate raising taxes, but if we say we're actually gonna do something that is tangible, that you can see and feel, I mean, if you wanna touch it, you can touch it, if you wanna smell it, you can smell it, but it's there.
These are very lasting visual projects.
And if we take the 400 that we say tier 6.8,
Apply it to there.
yeah.
So put
It's a little bit
400,
less.
put Bay Shore in the penny that we already got.
Yeah.
Okay, let us work the numbers. What we're gonna go on is strictly the streets list, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing is a priority.
Yes.
So we're gonna take our penny that we already had, draw from here to fill it out, and then we'll see how far down the list each penny gets you, okay? So Robbie and Brian will work to prioritize those items.
Or you, okay, or you want to see what all you can get, you're saying up to 5 pennies? Okay.
Because if we go up to 5 pennies, we're gonna probably, well, Shelley's comes off. We have to do that. We don't have a choice. We're paying for it.
That's,
But
That's what-
also, if we have secret fix, we're not gonna use it, they're gonna switch them out.
Okay, so go down to the next, Bob, I think there's more. Okay, so then we'll hit, that's water, 19 million. Remember, our rates should pay the debt on this if we take debt.
but that would be a difference, that's a,
So utility,
utility funded, CO bond, correct?
Utility funded tax note,
Still the tax note, even though these
or
are
a revenue bond.
revenue, that's.
So this would be a utility funded revenue bond, but it's coming out of the same pot. We're gonna say, take the same penny, just where we pay for it from comes different.
The
Makes
Fulton
sense.
tank on that one has been done.
Yeah, that's done.
We're tying that one up, that's 1.3.
Yep.
There's some things in there. We've done a lot on the water side.
Okay.
And y'all have approved so much, towards the water, which these aren't things that are pretty, other than the towers, that you don't really see, so.
So get this updated, and then keep going, Bob, please. And then this is the wastewater list. Some of these things I think have been done. The belt press is up there, that's one we have on our other
The
list.
purple pipe I'd love to see.
Purple pipe from the wastewater treatment plant to the park is the most sensible thing that we need to get done.
I'd love, please throw that one in there, because that can start that process, getting the purple pipe, even if it just gets it to the park, it starts that process of being able to have other people tie into it.
And it reduces
Or
use of
discharge into
potable
Thule.
water.
It reduces, environmentally, we can get some attaboys, attaboys.
What's the cost of that?
500.
Can we also put on there purple pipe and maybe a dispenser of effluent, like where we can fill up trucks that are coming, like Corpus does?
You make that project what you want it to be.
That's what I'm saying, we can
Because
feed to irrigate the park, but we also need to start looking at that, because, water restrictions, the less we pump down, the drainage ditch,
need to
and
be
it can be
doing that.
used for our citizens, I think would be a great idea. I mean, we could charge a little bit, but it's worth maybe like a penny or whatever it is. Something that we can reinvest back in the plant or something like that.
Okay, you two get on that, we'll definitely include it, because that is just a sensible item
You
that
said
needs to
you
be
two would
done.
have pointed me?
You two? No, you two get on that. Like I said, that is just something so sensible that we need to do. There is no reason for us to continue to not use our effluent.
Do we have enough discharge?
That's the only thing, that's the trip up is, this is another TCQ discharge. That people would probably, I don't know exactly.
Those 2 contracts that are.
Right, so we sell a portion of it, we only would have access to what's left, which is fine.
And
what's left is not defined.
Right.
once we change the parameters of our discharge permit, then we're open to more scrutiny.
But that would be, yes, more scrutiny, but it would also.
Yes, it would be in a positive, it's a positive way.
And maybe a
Yeah.
positive scrutiny, because.
We're dumping, we're less in the Tula Creek, and we're reusing it in a positive way, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I would have to put somebody.
We have to do some research on that.
And that's class 2 water, whatever, it can be used for contact sports, irrigation on contact, on fields.
Suitable for human contact, right? Just not consumption?
Yeah, not for consumption.
Not consumption, but
But
for
contact.
contact.
So you can water the fields with it, the
You
soccer
can swim
field?
in it.
No, you cannot fill the pool with it.
Splash pad.
Nah. Maybe.
Grass,
City
water
pool.
grass. You water grass, it's drinkable.
I don't think we can let kids play in it, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, so to me, that's a big one on that list, let's.
Direction received. Okay, so I think the plan's really clear in my head. I hope you understand what we're looking to do.
Yes.
And you can get with Ryan on these projects. Can you go down a little more, Bob, please?
They will go up.
Oh, go up. Let's see what we got. Because remember, Ryan is not the only one with capital.
No, that's what that's.
Go up. Upper. Okay. So we put the firewall in, right? This year?
Yes, it was in that.
And switches and access points and ports. What are we doing there? We got those, right?
Yeah, we got those for City Hall.
You need more though? Okay, and the computers and equipment, are those rolled into the,
That's for replacement fund. It's for life replacements.
okay, so wipe out the IT list. Parks, those are not overly important. The judge software packet, we'd like to see that happen. We'd like to see just FOIA happen. Do you have an issue with us putting those two items in the whole thing? You don't want just FOIA? That's what I heard, right? No?
No, just FOIA.
No, just FOIA. Say no.
Can we take a vote?
Those two are,
They're minimal.
they're minimal, so I mean, is it even, well,
Just for you to pay you back.
to me, that's not a 5-year capital improvement project list that we.
I know in the past, we've taken line items like that and tried to pull it out of the budget.
Why don't we roll those two then into the general fund budget?
Okay, the just FOIA
Just FOIA and the judge's
and the
packet.
judge's packets. And then what'd you say on IT, to Nick's IT?
I think we've accomplished everything up there. No? Why are you shaking your head?
We need firewalls.
Yeah, we need.
Oh, I thought that was in the other one we
City
did.
computers and equipment, that's the replacement fund.
Okay,
But doesn't that come out of each of our budgets?
put the,
It did, now it does not.
put the firewall in, are you listening? Put the firewall in your budget.
Okay.
Now, what's left up there that you need tax money for?
The computer and equipment, that's the
You
replacement
don't have that
fund.
already calculated in our 1 cent?
It was in the 1 cent. I kind of had that firewall and then any computer stuff that Bob needed in that 1 cent.
That's why I'm saying, take out IT, it's covered.
Oh, you're speaking from the 5-year.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. Yes, got you. Yeah,
It's already in the 1 cent.
Right.
Right, we're already asking for that.
Yes, yes.
We're just cleaning this up.
Yeah, so that's gonna be covered. Parks, you're out of the club. Muni court.
It's not me, it's the citizens.
I know.
That's okay.
Muni court and mayor and council, those will roll into operating budget. And then we'll take the direction on the rest, okay? Yes,
There's
ma'am.
another list to go up.
Oh, go up again. Nah. So on here, the radios are already included.
Yes.
The CID vehicle is already included.
Yes.
We've already nixed the trailer for the shooting range, vehicle for evidence and equipment.
No, that's the CID.
So are those the same thing?
Take the CID vehicle off.
Take the CID vehicle off and leave the evidence and equipment
Yes.
one? Okay,
So
so,
then can I reduce it to 35,000? Because right now it's
It's gonna
65.
be more, it's gonna be the 65.
okay,
60, okay.
so PD's taken care of. Fleet, those are the building improvements that we just decided against, right?
Well, yeah, we decided against it, but it is, I mean, now that we're looking at it, is it something that is truly, I don't want to keep kicking that can down the road, because we
We've
have.
kicked it every year for
I
a
know.
while. Like, he has,
Well, the building repairs and the home installation, that's funded this year. It's still on the
Right.
list because it hasn't been accomplished yet, but that
Okay.
money is sitting in Fund 97 for them to use whenever they're.
Yeah, we're gonna put 137,000 into it. We see that it's gonna be more, so we'll just do the 137 and see how far it gets us, and then we may be back to finish it up next year.
But is he gonna have a workable space?
Yeah, we always have, long as we have power and a shelter, we're gonna be okay.
Ryan, can we do the parking lot?
So
Or do that, all that's in-house, these are all wish lists, so.
the
we can-
parking lot at Laurel, do we wanna do anything there for a little while?
Until we figure out the use.
Yeah, so.
I'm okay with leaving it out there, so I wouldn't take that as a high priority for us.
But this list right here is supposed to be for the higher pennies that we're putting out there, so,
So we're saying these things are taken care of.
yes. No, I know, but
I'm
then we
sorry.
need to, we can leave whatever the wish list is up, as long as you're adding the pennies.
Absolutely.
So
We don't wanna do anything at Laurel because,
We don't know what we're
one,
gonna do
we're
with it.
moving out of there.
Yeah.
Two, there's potential to lease back to the company buying the gas system. So there's a lot of moving parts there. I don't think investing money into that parking lot is the thing to do right now.
And I would chip seal it anyways.
That's what I'm saying.
I get
Yeah.
the county to do it, that's a rough number, placeholder.
Yeah.
But it has to be cleaned up and with the traffic in there, it's a nightmare because it just get torn up.
But I know equipment storage shelter is something that you would really like. Because we have all of our expensive equipment just sitting out in the sun. So we will include that one in our list, in our penny list, okay? Otherwise, everything on that is taken care of. Except for fleet building 3 improvements. Okay? Police we have taken care of. I think that's everybody, right? Bob, can you make sure there's nothing below, above or below? Okay, go again. Down. Down. Down.
Since we removed a lot of the stuff, can we throw Brittany a bone here and maybe go to her basketball court?
Or commercial mulcher. She only wants 45,000 for that.
That's the cheaper one.
What do you want?
What I want,
We can leave it on there for the pennies. I don't mind it, I just mean that 1 penny for us to do that. Let's think out that. But if you wanna add more pennies to the tax, we can put it on that.
Penny number 1 will be the highest priority.
Yes, that was my goal.
And we're assuming 1 penny in the budget as is. So
Through penny number
2 through 5 will be everything else.
So the 1 penny includes the basketball court?
No.
No, it does not include the basketball
It
court.
has to go to penny 2.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Brittany.
Well, I mean,
It's been on the list.
because that was on the list for a while, it was on a previous bond, we get unspent
The
bond.
basketball cover was intended to be with the unspent bond funds.
Yeah,
But it came in
Came
much
in
higher
higher,
than
yes.
was allocated. I think they allocated like 10,000, it came in at 100,000. So they dropped it off the unspent bond fund list. It's been planned for a while.
Yes.
Okay.
So the mulcher goes on the 1 penny?
No.
No,
No, she doesn't get
she only
anything.
got a
Parks
bone.
Department
She gets
going
nothing.
on the 2 penny.
Okay.
She gets the basketball.
Second class citizen, okay.
She is. I will say, when we were talking to the group that was there last night, with Andrew, they very much understood that their tax dollars paid for parks and niceties like that, that they did not get any return on their investment from, just the usage. I mean, they didn't have a problem with that, so it was good to know.
I wanna just say that, if we go out and we say, hey, we're gonna get 2, 3, 4, 5 pennies off y'all, we damn sure better do the projects and do what we say we're gonna do, and not keep kicking cans down the road for,
Agreed.
I think that would get us where we're at,
The other thing is, you don't see all the projects, like Ryan said. That bolted tank, we paid for it last
No,
year,
sure.
but nobody knows that anything's done to it.
No.
That's, yeah, if you're gonna sell something, you gotta sell something that they can see, the parks, amenities, roads, anything that they can see, lighting, because they know that you actually did it.
We did a good job last year letting people know what we've done, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of spending that money. Yeah, kind of should have seen it. So,
Would you need help with these roads? Would you need additional staff or project managers?
you'll have to contract them out.
I don't know, yeah, I mean, what we're gonna end up doing for the numbers, I'm gonna go get Anderson, Columbia, that's building the highway, and that's building Kluge, and I'm gonna drive them around and say, give me real numbers to do the job. And we'll have them.
You're gonna have to get bids with that high.
Oh, certainly. But that gives you a-
This is gonna be a real number, not me taking it all.
Right. So they're gonna be contracted out.
All of them, yeah, we can't do these in-house, we don't have that machinery, TxDOT doesn't do this.
Okay.
Candace is gonna be out there.
Candace can do all.
With her pencil and pad.
That's under her job duties. Do everything.
Vanessa, or Robbie, maybe next time, can y'all fill us in, or maybe educate me a little bit more, maybe it doesn't have to be a workshop, on TIRZ bond, on how, how that would look.
I mean, can we
I'll
even,
figure it out.
can we even do something like that right now, with there not being any revenue in it?
Well, maybe. Let me get good info, bring you back a one pager, and then we'll all know the correct information.
I would think you probably have to have at least a project approved.
Well, you have to have your board seated, you have to have your a project plan approved, and then it would have to be a portion of that, so.
I know we talked, like, when we were talking about the tiers, we were like, we don't want the tiers to go out for bonds.
Right.
So I don't wanna
We would
crawfish
be
on that.
backtracking on that.
I don't wanna crawfish and say, hey, just let the tiers borrow all the money, because that,
At a later date, it might really make sense when you have something, maybe after the waterfront project starts, it would make sense to do it then. To anticipate it now with no dirt turning, I think is a gamble,
Yeah.
I agree.
so.
and then, it being a tier, so does that mean, I don't know who's on the hook for that, is it the existing downtown business or property owners, are they?
Bank's gonna get their money.
Exactly, they're gonna get one way or another, and so I don't wanna,
We'll get a good solid information, we'll have that at our next workshop, or I might email it.
that's fine with me, just how that would work, how that would look, versus pennies on the INS side.
Okay, so any more discussion on the penny analysis? Okay, so Robbie has his direction on penny analysis. After the budget season, we'll start talking about a bond project when we decide what we're gonna do with the penny analysis, and I'll get with Dr. Austin and see what their plan is. I will email out to TIRZ bond info. We're gonna drop option A and option B of the salary survey into the working budget and see what those look like. You should have everybody's budget by when?
We're asking for them, and we should already have them, but I think there's still a couple.
Who hasn't turned them in? Let's shame them.
We're trying not to publicly share.
Brittany. One of them's probably mine, right? Okay. Okay, so staff, get those in as soon as possible. If you need help, come see me, come see Robbie. Actually, don't come see me, you won't like the result. Go see Robbie. And let's get those done. You guys have, in the information presented here is the tax rate that we are working off of today. So give that a look, be sure you're familiar with that. That's the page we're all used to looking at. Can you go back to Robbie's presentation? Go, up. Up. Keep going. No, did I tell him to go the wrong way?
No, you're going good.
Okay, keep going. There's that one spreadsheet that we're all used to looking at that is, has the proposed tax rate. There we go. So, that's the one you wanna study. Our rate this year, our adopted rate is 0.4052, and the proposed rate is, I can't read that far.
1434.
Okay, so, and then a penny on top of that, so look at the debt model that we proposed. Look at the tax rate proposed.
Or that one includes the penny, I believe.
Okay, the
That
highlight.
one does include the
Okay,
penny already on the.
Chief is gonna provide a breakdown of how much it costs for a cop, not just the lump sum. We're gonna edit the rules of procedure according to our discussion. Does anybody else have homework from this?
We're gonna bring back an ordinance,
For,
to.
We're gonna look at
We're gonna look at other cities and how they handle attendance at school.
right, so that's the editing of the rules of procedure. Okay.
The new initiatives that had the 5 cop, or 4 cops in the CID and, the other thing.
Right.
CID ambulance.
Where is this built into our, how do we build that into?
We have to, we need to get all the sheets together, drop in the study, A and B, and then we need to see what our capacity is, and then we need to look at if we have any capacity for any initiatives. Okay. Which I don't anticipate
So
there being.
when they turn in their budgets and we put in the salary survey, we'll see what's left over for those things.
Yes.
And then that's when we'll do the cutting of the new initiatives, or adding or cutting of the new.
We'll see what we can fit in, if anything. Okay. I know Matt sent me an email. I don't know if he sent it to you guys, but I think he wanted me to bring up that he would like to see the departments find half of the raises in their operating budgets and then let council provide the other half. So like if it's 600,000, he proposes that the departments cut 300,000 and then we add in the additional. I told him we would be presenting the salary survey. He wasn't familiar with that, but I'm just letting y'all know what he posted.
explain a little bit more, I'm sorry. So he just wants to.
So he says if you want a COLA,
Yeah.
that the departments need to cut their operating budgets for half. And then the city put in the other half, or the council give the other half.
Whatever the cost of the COLA would be?
Yes.
He says half of that cost would have to come from all the departments.
So what we've got proposed right now covers the increase we're talking about based on the study.
We're working under the model that we cover the full amount of the study. If y'all would like for us to cut and find half, we can do that, but just remember, something's not gonna get done.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm talking about it.
Okay.
I think it's more important that we get this study.
If what we propose here today to take care of the issue, I think this is what we need to do.
Okay, just to let you know, I don't even want to neglect to provide the information.
No, it's half the cost.
No, I know I'm missing.
So like the 600,000, 300,000. So I know.
Okay, are there any more questions or discussions on today's topics? Okay. Brad,
Okay.
that's your cue.
Oh,
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
second. Got us.
2 days in a row.
I know, we are.
Not 2 days in a row.
2 meetings in a row.
Second's the first line.
Thank y'all.